chapter Xuanhuan within reach of light. Whooshum! Strange roars echoed in Xiaolong's ears, interspersed with the thunderous crash of waves against rocks. A furious, thunderous roar, wave after wave of tremors made Xiaolong's flesh tingle. What the hell? Xiaolong blearily opened his eyes, finding himself lying on a large rock. Where am I? His head still ached, his eardrums tormented by the surrounding cacophony. He pushed back the wet hair from his face. The world was shrouded in gloom, a storm brewing. He vaguely remembered watching Jurassic World at the cinema. How could he be in such a strange place? Before him lay a small island, shrouded in thick, dark grey clouds that churned and hid countless flashes of lightning. No way, Xiaolong swore. A sharp ringing in his ears forced Xiaolong to cover his ears, instantly followed by a powerful blow that slammed into him. Before Xiaolong could react, his entire body plunged into the water. Though his head swam, Xiaolong steadied himself, bursting to the surface and gasping for breath. Damn it! Almost finished me! Even after catching his breath, Xiaolong was still shaken, nearly winded by the force. Just as Xiaolong was about to scramble back onto the rock, a long, low growl echoed in his ear. Though deep, the sound seemed to resonate within him, causing his body to tremble uncontrollably. The sound reminded Xiaolong of Tyrannosaurus Rex in Jurassic Park, the predatory pressure of hunter on prey. Only far more intense than anything the T-Rex had ever evoked. Xiaolong pressed himself tightly against the rock, not daring to move. This wasn't Jurassic Park. Where was this? Xiaolong struggled to turn his head, his eyes widening in. Three colossal creatures were locked in a fierce struggle on the sea, churning up monstrous waves. Two of them bore a resemblance to dinosaurs, like oversized Tyrannosaurus Rexes. Presumably, those roars had come from these monsters. That alone would have been enough to terrify Xiaolong, but the third creature sent his mind into a chaotic whirl, a torrent of bizarre thoughts flooding his brain. 7. Yes, that familiar red figure, identical to the 7 Ultraman he remembered. Since childhood, Xiaolong had dreamt of seeing Ultraman with his own eyes. Unbelievably, that dream was coming true now. But Xiaolong felt like crying. His dream had come true at the worst possible time. After being submerged in the icy water for so long, he'd lost a significant amount of body heat. His legs and feet were stiffening. If this continued, he would be able to survive. Moreover, the proximity to these enormous creatures was overwhelmingly stressful. The low, guttural roars of the two monsters pounded against him in waves, making it hard for him to breathe. Boom! After a prolonged standoff, the two monsters suddenly attacked 7. Their colossal bodies churning the entire sea surface as if it were about to overturn. A violent collision unleashed a furious gale, creating miniature tsunamis that raced towards Xiaolong. Damn! Xiaolong's chest tightened, and he immediately swam towards the shelter of a large rock. But the several-meter-high waves were too fast. Before he could reach safety, they crashed down on him with brutal force. In that instant, Xiaolong seemed to hear the bursting of his own blood vessels. It's over. I'll either die or lose half my life! Xiaolong coughed up blood and closed his eyes in despair, just as he thought he would die in this strange place. A wave of warmth suddenly surged through his body. What's happening? Xiaolong opened his eyes in confusion. He found himself in a world of light, enveloped by its gentle radiance, with countless particles of light penetrating his body. This light, saving me. Xiaolong stared blankly at the shimmering particles of light before him, each one leaping and dancing vivaciously like countless tiny sprites. I've become Ultraman? Xiaolong curiously reached out to grasp the light, but the light particles receded like a tide. Immediately afterward, he felt himself lifted by a giant hand. He turned around in confusion, and before him loomed a pair of gigantic light bulbs, their radiance bringing him an immense sense of comfort. A glimmer of hope even. This is 7. Xiaolong's eyes widened. 7 had saved him. In desolate place, 7's majestic form stood out, seemingly transcending the very power of heaven and earth. So this is an Ultraman. If only I could become an Ultraman too! Thank you. Xiaolong managed to utter only this before a deep wave of exhaustion washed over him, and he fell into a deep sleep. This sleep was sound and sweet. He dreamt he had become an Ultraman, battling all sorts, traversing the cosmos, witnessing countless stories, and ultimately becoming a legendary Ultraman of the Land of Light. Hey, wake up! Xiaolong, fresh from a dream of a fierce battle with no Ultraman, was jolted awake by sudden noise. What the? Don't bother us, I'm the strongest! Xiaolong grumbled. Wake up, you scaredy cat! You actually fainted! Wait! That's a girl's voice. Xiaolong opened his blurry eyes. Bumi. If it weren't for saving him, the giant would have defeated the monster already. Xiaolong finally came to his senses. It was just a dream. He looked blankly at the two people in front of him, a girl about his age. Her face was the one who woke him up, and a middle-aged man beside her, wearing a raincoat, seemingly just returned from outside. You're awake! Here, drink some hot water! Taking the cup from the middle-aged man, Xiaolong began to gather his thoughts. He seemed to have passed out after being saved by 7, and had no idea where he was now. Sipping the hot water, Xiaolong looked outside. The sky was still dark, and the distant battle was still visible. It seemed he had been moved away from the battlefield. At this thought, Xiaolong looked at the middle-aged man with gratitude. If he had stayed in that hellish place, he would have been either crushed or drowned. Thank you. I didn't really help. You should thank the giant. The middle-aged man sighed. You're lucky to be alive after all that. Xiaolong shook his head, unwilling to dwell on the topic. Where is this? He asked. Don't worry, it's relatively safe here. Seeing the middle-aged man hadn't understood his meaning, Xiaolong didn't press further. He wanted to know the name of this place, but he wasn't comfortable explaining to the man how he'd gotten there. Alright, Papa is awake. A girl, pouting, pulled the middle-aged man away. Though somewhat perplexed by the girl's attitude, Xuanhuan felt a sense of relief. He looked around. He'd never been to Japan, but he'd watched a lot of anime. The tatami mats and so on clearly indicated he was no longer in a familiar place. Japan. But why could he understand what they were saying? Thinking back, Xuanhuan gradually felt something was wrong. The father and daughter hadn't spoken Mandarin, yet it understood them perfectly. "This is a strange place," Xuanhuan muttered, picking up a newspaper from the table. It was definitely Japanese, yet he could read it. As if some strange force had etched the characters into his memory. Did I enter an infinite world? Xuanhuan's brow furrowed. The date on the newspaper was 1974, but there was no omnipotent being assigning missions or anything. Could the mission be hidden in the newspaper? Xuanhuan carefully scanned the newspaper, finding only ordinary news reports with occasional mentions of monsters like Ultraman, but nothing related to the mission. Forget it. He angrily tossed the newspaper aside. Let's see what happens. As soon as Xuanhuan stepped out of the hut, he saw a peculiar fighter jet landing on the other side of the island. "What's this? Daddy!" A girl's cheerful voice came from the side. "It's the MAC team! Come on! Let's go check it out!" The MAC team Xuanhuan followed curiously since the Earth Defense Force from Ultraman Leo. The MAC team, also known as the Cosmic Monster Attack Team, was, in Xuanhuan's estimation, characterized by an exceptionally high mortality rate and remarkably low combat effectiveness. But the existence of the MAC team suggested this world might be the one from Ultraman Leo. Xuanhuan wasn't feeling particularly cheerful. Ultraman worlds were inherently dangerous, and this one seemed particularly precarious. Xuanhuan was an Ultraman enthusiast. While his specific knowledge might be hazy, he was familiar with the Leo series. Not only was the team ill-equipped, but the world itself boasted an incredibly high death rate. By the time Xuanhuan and the others arrived, the beach had returned to normal. Waves crashed against the rocks, still restless but nowhere near their previous ferocity. The sky had cleared, as if the preceding events were merely a phantom. A man in strange attire lay on the sand, surrounded by MAC team members similarly clad, gazing at the man, seemingly with a broken leg. A sense of familiarity washed over Xuanhuan. Was the battle over? Where was Seven? As the man was helped to his feet, his disheveled appearance nearly caused Xuanhuan to cry out. Captain Hikari. Finally, Hayato understood the source of his familiarity. This man was none other than Ultra Seven's human form. Captain, this is Black Tide Island, but where's Leo? Hayato looked around suspiciously, but found nothing unusual. Where did Ultraman Leo go? Captain Hikari, supported by his team members, wore a grim expression. The monster hadn't been defeated, only temporarily repelled, and the Ultra 7 could no longer transform. Returned to headquarters first. Gazing at the setting sun, Hikari felt a sense of uncertainty. Ultra 7's era had passed, but what of humanity's future? In the recent battle, though he drove back the monster, his right leg was broken and he lost his ability to transform. Captain Hikaru saw Rue standing in the distance. In the setting sun, the boy stood on the rocks, letting the sea wind blow over him. "It's the child before!" For some reason, he sensed a glimmer of hope emanating from Ryu, though the boy before him was clearly just an ordinary human. Chapter Dazu. Leo has vanished. Alright, Masaru-kun, it's all taken care of. In a Tokyo police, Ryu looked glumly at the amiable Suzuki, accepting the document Suzuki handed him. 2 days have passed since the Black Tide Island incident. Because of his unknown origins, the MAC team had brought him to Tokyo. If it weren't for Captain Hikari's orders, he might already be in prison or a laboratory. This world is very wary of aliens, though it seems some aliens are hiding among the population. I wonder how they manage their identities. Cough, cough. I'm not an alien. Zheng Xialong. Looking at the information on ED, Xialong nodded with satisfaction. At least he wasn't an undocumented person anymore. It seems the MAC's authority is quite considerable. Thank you, Mr. Suzuki. You're welcome. The captain thinks highly of you. Zhengxia-kun. Suzuki looked at Xialong expectantly. How about it? Do you want to join the MAC team? What? Xialong smiled and refused. Let's leave it for later. What a joke. Joining the MAC team is practically suicide. Suzuki shook his head regretfully. As a subordinate organization of the Earth Defense Force, the MAC team won't lack people. It's just that the captain rarely takes a liking to someone, which is why Suzuki said a few extra words. Strolling through the streets of Tokyo, Xuanhuan what to do in this strange world. He felt utterly out of place. A stranger in a bustling world, the throngs of people and the constant flow of traffic felt distant, detached. 1974. After all, Japanese culture of that time felt impossibly remote to him. Of course, the Ultraman world couldn't be compared to reality, but it was fundamentally based on it. If he remembered correctly, Ultraman was filmed in the 1960s and 70s. He hadn't even been born yet. He hadn't noticed these things before when watching Ultraman, but now, immersed in this reality, the weight of those years pressed down on him uncomfortably. Whatever, he'll deal with that later. Let's focus on the present. Long stopped rubbing his stomach. He hadn't thought about it when he left the police station, but now his hunger was undeniable. No money. The embarrassing truth struck him. He should have accepted the offer to join MAC team. Life or death was uncertain. But now, if I don't figure something out, starving to death in Tokyo. The very thought was terrifying. Xialong shuddered, a vision flashing before his eyes of himself, a news headline proclaiming his demise from hunger on the streets. A victim of... He shook his head violently. There's always a way out. Or, would it be too humiliating to become a beggar? Xialong's eyes lit up. In his past life, beggars were surprisingly successful, seemingly raking in the money. No, Xialong mused. the shame will be bad enough, but to be reduced to that in a foreign land, unacceptable. Besides, who knows what Tokyo is really like underneath its calm facade? It's probably far more chaotic than it appears. Forget the Yakuza for now, even street thugs could make life miserable. Currently, the various facilities at the Chonan Gymnasium, Xialong noticed a news report playing on a convenience store screen, mentioning the Chonan Sports Club. Wasn't Leo's human form hater working there? Xialong's lips curled into a slight smile. There's hope. Asking the main character for help never hurts. I can always sweet talk my way through it. Tokyo, Southern City. The sports club. Xialong searched carefully in this strange yet familiar place. Rounding a corner, his eyes lit up. This is it. Will Leo be inside? Xialong tightened his grip. The Southern City Sports Club was where Leo first stayed when he arrived on Earth. It had various training facilities, including a gymnastics room and a karate dojo, a very large place. But now, no one. Seeing the empty club, Xialong was dumbfounded. He tried knocking, but no one answered. No way. At such a crucial time, before he could dwell on it, his stomach let out a loud rumble, followed by a few giggles from behind. Sister, is that uncle sick? His voice is so strange. The innocent words pierced Xiaolong's fragile heart. Fine. Saying him sick is one thing, but why call me uncle? Xiaolong felt utterly humiliated. Had been hungry before, but this time had lost all face. My reputation is ruined. Children speak without thinking. Children speak without thinking. Hey. What are you doing here, huh? That voice. Too embarrassed to react immediately, Xiaolong turned to see the girl from Haichao Island, the one named Bumei. Beside her was a sweet smiling girl, and a little girl of about 7, who stared at Xiaolong with curiosity. Oh, what a coincidence! Xiaolong chuckled dryly. Coincidence? You coward sneaking around! Who knows what you're doing? Bumei glared fiercely, turning to the girl beside her. Basie. Let's go in. Basie, staring blankly at the girl, indeed an oval face, a sweet smile. It does match Yamaguchi Bai's appearance. Basie is the heroine of Leo's story. She might not be the prettiest among the Ultra series heroines, but she's exceptionally strong and open-minded, capable of giving support and comfort, a virtuous and good wife and mother type of girl. Sadly, this gentle girl unfortunately perished when the disc creatures attacked. You pervert. Look again and ill gouge your eyes out. Bumei angrily blocked Xiaolong's view, brandishing her hands in a threatening gesture. I say, when did I ever offend you? Xiaolong muttered with displeasure. Can't this girl just be a little pure you? Alright, Bommy. Yi, covering her mouth. For some reason, Bommis acting completely different ever since she saw him. Don't make a fuss. Maybe he has something to do with the president. Humph, what business could he possibly have? Coward. Pervert smelly. Turning away from Sharyu in a clear display of irritation, a picture of avoiding eye contact. Whoa, is that really necessary to start with nicknames? Hello Haikuzi. Excuse me, is fine. Once the girl Quion, Sharyu quickly addressed Haikuzi. This was a matter of his future life compared to survival. A little girl's tantrum was nothing, though it was incredibly annoying. Fion. Haikuzi paused, shaking her head. Never heard of him. Is there anyone in our club named Fuyon? No, Hayakuzi ni-san. No, it took Sharyu a while to react. What's going on? This isn't the Ultraman Leo world, is it? But Kuroshio Island. 7. The Manami City Sports Club. How do I explain this? Is this a parallel world? Look, should I ask the president? I'm new here, too. No need. Xiaolong waved his hand, looking up at the sky in confusion. Did my arrival change something? Or was Leo never meant to be in this world? Then what about this world? The monsters will still exist? Alright, Basie. I knew he was up to no good. Even his excuse is so lame. Let's ignore him, Bumei said, pulling Basie towards the club. Xiaolong, who was contemplating the future of humanity. Wait, let's worry about humanity later. I need to solve my own hunger problem first. Xiaolong urgently grabbed Basie, asking, do you think the club is still hiring, you pervert? Let go. Chapter Zolozo 3. Young miss. Xiaolong ultimately managed to stay at the club, although Bumei's expression gave him a bad feeling. What could be more important than filling his stomach? President, after mooching a meal at the club, Xiaolong met the Kuramasashi. Timura clapped Xiaolong hard on the shoulder. He's not in the best shape, needs more exercise. But the club's short-handed. So you're staying? Timura leaned close, whispering. You wouldn't happen to have offended the young miss, would you? Things haven't been exactly friendly since you arrived, haha. Xiaolong chuckled nervously, giving Timura a strange look. Young miss, you wouldn't be talking about. Timura didn't answer, just gave Xiaolong an encouraging look and waved him off. No way. Xiaolong stood there dumbfounded. How come I didn't know the club had a young miss? Remembering Bumei's earlier expression, a wail rose in his heart. Even Leo's gone missing. What's impossible then? And when exactly did I offend that girl? What are you waiting for? Change your clothes. Looking at Bemi in her training uniform, Xiaolong finally understood Omura's meaning. Picking up the training uniform nearby, Xiaolong breathed a sigh of relief. So it's just sparring. I've never done it before. But what could a girl possibly do to me? Hey, what are you doing? Who told you to change here? Go to the changing room, you idiot! Bemi scolded. Her face flushed crimson. That idiot actually changed his clothes in front of me. Xiaolong stood before Bimi, drenched in sweat. Is this okay? Don't think we're keeping you at the club out of sympathy, the girl said coldly, striking a pose. This place doesn't need weaklings. If you want to stay, show me what you've got. Hey, Xiaolong's face darkened as he considered her situation. Don't think you're so amazing just because you're a young miss. With a temper like that, no one will marry you. You, the girl seemed to be angered. She bent her knees and kicked. Wait. Before Xiaolong could say more, a flying foot enlarged before his eyes. Ouch! His feet slipped, and before the pain in his nose could register, a sharp pain shot through his backside. The sound echoed through the entire dojo, drawing attention from all corners. Which unlucky soul dared to provoke the young Miss Tax? Clutching his nose, Xiaolong was speechless from the pain, only regaining his senses after a long while. It's bleeding. The pain in his nose was familiar, otherwise, he would have cried. Don't think him scared of you. Xiaolong gritted his teeth, forcing the words out. I just don't want to hit a woman. Ayumi frowned. Fine, you pass. She walked out of the dojo alone. She really went all out. Xiaolong watched the girl leave, trying to stand but hissing in pain as he realized his backside was also hurting badly. Hey, you got off easy. Last time, some guy pissed off the young miss and ended up hospitalized for half a month? She's that strong. That's strong. Looking at the group of men, still shaken, Xiaolong's heart sank. He had a bad feeling, judging by that girl's attitude. Things were likely to get worse. I need to find a way to train myself not to fight aliens or anything, but at least I shouldn't be bullied by a girl. Afternoon. Omura led Xiaolong to a small single room, containing some odds and ends and a single bed. He used to live here all the time, but recently has moved out. Damara paused, saying the place is a bit small long, so you'll have to make do. No, it's pretty good. Xiaolong muttered to himself. It's much better than the dorm, at least it's a single room. Long. Damara pointed out. You might be a little unhappy with the young miss, but actually, she's a pretty good person. I know. Xiaolong waved his hand. President, you don't have to say any more. I won't hold it against her. I won't get angry. Not getting angry is a lie. I'll get her back later. Damara nodded, sighing. Ever since she witnessed her mother and brother being killed by monsters as a child, she's always come here to train. Don't let her strong appearance fool you. Xiaolong stiffened. I understand. I was letting her win just now. That kick was nothing if I got serious. Hey, President, why do you look so pale? Seeing Daimira's strange expression, Xiaolong forced a stiff smile. I know, she's behind me. Right. Based on his years of experience, in this situation the probability of the question being behind him was as high as 90%. President, can I take a leave of absence now? Xiaolong's face was bitter. He really had terrible luck. He could feel the chilling aura behind him without even turning around. But after a long moment, the person behind him didn't speak. She's gone, Timura muttered. I didn't say anything bad about her. Did I? Then silently watched the girl's departing figure, lost in thought. Another sad story, but in the Leo world, where tragedies are commonplace, this isn't so surprising. But why do I feel like she's been a little too attentive to me? I haven't done anything to deserve it. Could she like me? Xiaolong shook his head. Impossible. We've only met a few times. He remembered that day on Black Tide Island. Just because I fainted, she's this angry. That doesn't make sense! Speaking of Black Tide Island, Xiaolong remembered something or plot. Shortly after the first attack on Black Tide Island, those two monsters would return, and this time they would sink the island. This is serious! Xiaolong sighed. Alright. To prevent this young lady from getting hurt, and to avoid the Black Tide Island tragedy, I have to figure something out, no matter how difficult it is. President, is there a phone? Xiaolong recalled what Xuanhuan had said to him a few days ago. Ultimately, it's up to humanity to protect the Earth. This is my personal number. Contact me if you need anything. Indeed. 7 can't transform. Leo has vanished without a trace, and for the time being, Earth really does have to rely on its own people. While we don't know if M78 Nebula will send a new Ultraman, honestly, it's unlikely at the moment. In the original series, even when 7 faced so many difficulties, there was no help from Earth. However, to get back to the point, Xiaolong remained somewhat puzzled by Xuanhuan's actions. As 7's human form and the captain of the MAC team, a person with such a unique status and position, his attitude was exceedingly kind. After a moment's hesitation, Xiaolong finally dialed the number. Regardless, the Black Tide Island incident could only be handled by the MAC team. Hello, this is Xuanhuan. Chapter Level 4 Tokyo sinks. At MAC headquarters, Captain Hukaru commanded the bridge alone. Still reeling from the recent phone call, the child was right. He too believed the monster would return, but in his position, many things were beyond his immediate control. After a moment's hesitation, he made his decision and picked up the receiver again. Team leader, you should understand what this entails! The stern voice of the commander crackled through the phone. I understand. I'll take responsibility. Slowly replacing the handset, Hikaru stared silently out at the cosmos beyond the space station. The beautiful blue Earth visible through the window. May everything go smoothly. Over the next few days, while Ayumi still gave Hayata the cold shoulder, she at least refrained from physically assaulting him. Much to Hayata, she still has a bit of a conscience. My asking 7 for help wasn't in vain. As a child, Xiaolong had always idolized Ultra 7. No matter how powerful or impressive other Ultraman were, he always placed Ultra 7 first. But in this world, Xiaolong didn't want to have much contact with Ultra 7. It wasn't because he was cowardly, but simply because he didn't want to get involved. But it seems now that Hell inevitably have to deal with Ultra 7, which means getting involved in battles against monsters. But Ultra 7 is probably going to be disappointed. Right now he can't even beat that girl, Bemi. How is he supposed to fight monsters? He knows how strong even small-sized monsters are. Not even boxing champions stand a chance. And giant ones, forget about it. He doesn't even know how to fire a gun, let alone pilot a fighter jet. And the MAC team's Mackie fighter seems to do little damage to monsters. All things considered, it seems like him good for nothing. Xiaolong shook his head helplessly. On his second day joining the club, Xiaolong met Takeshi Nomura, a young man with long Take-shi looked weak, but he was quite strong. At least Xia Long was no match for him. In the original story, he was a good friend of Ryu, always helping him train. Of course, since Leo doesn't exist in this world, Take-shi has been the head coach responsible for training the children. And the two children from the Omeda family, the little girl Omeda Kori who calls Xia Long uncle, and her brother Omeda Toru. Thanks to Xia Long's efforts, he gets along pretty well with them. Well, even though Kori still insists on calling him uncle, but children will be children. And then there's Basie. Basie is kind to everyone. Actually, Xia Long harbored some feelings, but in this world, Basie is always with that girl bum. Is it destined that I can't be with Basie? Xia Long felt a sense of resignation. Maybe there will be a chance later. Early this morning, Haikou Island was discovered to have sunk into the sea. The exact cause is still unknown, possibly due to last night's storm. The government is carrying out emergency rescue efforts. The news report on the radio interrupted Xia Long's thoughts, so it came. I wonder if Xuanhuan help. Xia Long kun. He got up and was about to go out when he saw Bamei running towards him in a panic, her hair disheveled, her face still showing traces of tears. Xia Long was about to ask her something when the girl awkwardly averted her gaze. What are you looking at? Never seen son. Due to the MAC team's early release of an emergency evacuation order, the residents of Haikou Island are safe. The government is undertaking various. The girl opened her mouth slightly. Had she never seen a woman remove her makeup before? Watching the girl swiftly departing back, Xia Long was somewhat dumbfounded. She had definitely been crying just now. Xia Long inexplicably laughed. Seven was quite reliable, but had saved so many people. His achievements must be considerable. That favor probably wouldn't fall on his head. President. Shortly after the news broadcast, the village gathered everyone in the training ground. The vast space was filled with chattering children, among them Xiaoxiang and Tong. Hello, Uncle Long. You know about the sinking of Black Tide Island, right? Well, I only just found out myself. Xia Long unexpectedly found Bumei standing neatly beside Baisi. So fast, unbelievable. You were right. The monster really attacked Haikou Island again. Demu stared at Xia Long in disbelief. Haha. Nothing. I just thought it was best to be cautious. Xia Long couldn't, of course, say it was because he knew the plot. What's going on? What does the monster attack have to do with Long? Meng asked. Speaking of which, Long saved the people of Haikou Island! Demu happily slapped Xia Long on the shoulder. It was Long who called the MAC team last night. That's why they issued the emergency evacuation order. Wow, Long's a hero. Meng playfully punched Xia Long. You sneaky guy! Bumei stared at Xia Long, a strange feeling in her heart. No. It's all thanks to the team leader. Asking me to say hello! Don't be so modest! Demu exclaimed. Besides, you indirectly saved our club sponsor. Sponsors? Xia Long looked at Dama in confusion, seeing Dama a glance at. Showing off, Bumei said, pursing her lips and glaring. Didn't we save you on Black Tide Island? Hey, let's not get into this! Xia Long wanted to retort, but before he could speak, the entire venue shook violently. What's an earthquake? Demura grabbed the doorknob, shouting, Quick, everyone out! No, it's not an earthquake! Xia Long's face turned pale. It's a monster! Damn it! He'd forgotten the monster's next target was Tokyo. He thought telling Seven would be enough, but he hadn't expected. President, it's probably a monster! Quick, everyone run! As if to confirm Xia Long's words, a roar that sent shivers down everyone's spines echoed from afar. What? Dama's eyes widened as he looked outside. Two enormous creatures were indeed bearing down on them, accompanied by a tsunami. Oh dear, these monsters are unlike anything we've seen before. Quick, protect the children. Absolutely not ordinary. Xia Long felt his heart tremble. He understood the true power of these monsters far better than Demira and the others. While not the twin monsters controlled by the Magma Suren in the original series, having witnessed their battle with Seven and their sinking of Kuroshio Island, Xia Long believed they were even stronger! If the plot unfolds as before and Leo isn't there, Tokyo and even Japan would be swallowed by the monsters. And that's not all, the entire Earth might be destroyed. God, can someone tell me what to do? Xia Long watched the monsters wreak havoc in agony. Saving the world wasn't something a small fry like him should be worrying about. But now, his world was included in the catastrophe. If the world is destroyed, will I even exist? I'm not an Ultraman who can fly into space. As for space stations like MAG headquarters without Earth, they probably wouldn't last long. Run. Watching the monstrous waves engulf houses and the panicked crowd, Xia Long shook his head, sighing helplessly. Let's just see how long we can live, I guess. Coming, he declared, turning to leave. But then, terrifying thing happened. He couldn't control his body. Not only that, his body was inexplicably moving towards the monster. What's happening? Cold sweat trickled down his forehead. His mind screamed against it. Yet his body continued to walk forward. As if some program had been active. Xia Long, what are you doing? Get back here! Everyone was stunned by Xia Long's actions. You idiot. You pervert! Are you scared, silly? Bumei stamped her foot and ran towards Xia Long. Bumei! Run. Xia Long felt all sounds with his friends' shouts, the terrified screams of the crowd, the collapse of the building, the raging tsunami, even the monster's terrifying roar, all seemed muffled by some strange force, replaced by an increasingly loud bang. Though he stood directly before the monster, he seemed to see a bird's eye view of Tokyo. Near Tokyo Bay, everything was submerged, rows of skyscrapers crumbling, a scene not unlike the apocalypse, and to make matters worse, two colossal culprits. Tokyo is going to sink! Watching the oncoming tidal wave and the debris, Xia Long closed his eyes in despair. An inexplicable arrival and an inexplicable death. But, with Tokyo, even Japan, perishing alongside him, it System starting. Activating protection mode. Execution confirmed. Chapter Rosen 5 System 001. Upon receiving news of the anomalous tsunami in Tokyo Bay, Ultraman Taro immediately rushed to the scene. After landing his fighter in a safe location, he climbed a hill, leaning heavily on his cane, his eyes bloodshot as he surveyed the two rampaging monsters and the devastated ruins of Tokyo Bay. So it has come to this, Taro muttered through gritted teeth, his lips trembling. No, if this continues, all of Japan will be swallowed, but 7 is no more, his heart consumed by anguish. If only I could transform. Suddenly, Taro felt a faint tremor of light within his body. What is this? He looked ahead in astonishment. Some strange event was unfolding in the sea. An eerie red light spread outwards, even subduing the ferocious aura of the monsters. Countless bolts of light materialized before the two monsters, pushing back the surging seawater. Immediately, a warm light radiated outwards, illuminating the entire fallen zone. Such intense light, bathed in its glow. Tuan's right leg showed signs of improvement. He muttered, "What's going on?" Sharing Tuan's bewilderment were the refugees throughout southern Tokyo. In this light, all fear seemed to recede. People stopped fleeing, curiously observing the lightning in the sky. Such warm light! After the light dissipated, a colossal red, one hand raised to the heavens, suddenly appeared on the ground standing before the monster. Even from behind, its presence felt incredibly powerful. This is... Omura gasped. A new giant. The giant's form was somewhat bizarre, particularly its head, with two sharp horns that seemed poised for flight, appearing incredibly majestic. Strange markings on its abdomen hinted at mystery. An unprecedented Ultraman? Tuan's expression grew serious. If it's here to fight the monster, Earth, it seems to be on humanity's side, but where did it come from, and why do I feel a connection with it? Feeling the light particles within him growing increasingly active, Tuan looked forward to this new Ultraman with anticipation. Photoparticle activation successful. The strange electronic hum still echoed in his ears, but Xuanhuan couldn't care. He felt utterly disoriented. Everything around him seemed to have shrunk, and there, before him, stood those two monstrous beasts. What the huttily was going on? He stared at the two monsters, their eyes bloodshot, their gazes predatory. Xuanhuan's heart pounded. He wanted to escape, but found his body unresponsive. Damn it, was this a dream? I remember being submerged in seawater. Was this a deathbed hallucination? Xuanhuan's thoughts raced. 10-story buildings reached only to his chest. Cars of all kinds were like toys beneath his feet. And the two behemoths that could have crushed him moments before now stood only slightly taller than he was. Could it be? Xuanhuan followed his gaze, vaguely making out the apocalyptic southern Tokyo before him. Iban. But the electronic voice in his ear suddenly became urgent. Ready, target locked, warning, energy insufficient. To Xuanhuan's astonishment, his body moved violently, his iron fist clenched, and he struck one of the monsters with a lightning-fast blow, emitting a roar like a lion's. The monster's flying form slowed down countless times in Xuanhuan's eyes. Its gaping maw seemed about to unleash a roar, but before the sound could escape, Xuanhuan felt his body jolt as he moved at an impossible speed to the monster's front, delivering a devastating kick to its abdomen. The monster crashed heavily to the ground, sending a violent tremor through southern Tokyo. It all happened in an instant. A blink of an eye, and the monster was defeated. So strong! Xuanhuan stared in amazement at the fallen monster, finally letting out an earth-shattering roar, looking severely wounded. But immediately after, the electronic voice in his ear went into a frenzy of alarms. Warning! Warning! Energy critically low. Overdrafting. Xuanhuan's heart tightened. Though he didn't understand the electronic voice, it was clear the previous attack had been costly. But there's still one left. Nervously watching the remaining beast adopt a probing attack posture, he was relieved to see that it seemed shaken by the previous scene. After a few low growls, it finally retreated with its injured companion. Xuanhuan felt a wave of relief wash over him, but the next moment, a profound exhaustion hit him, making his head swim. What's happening? He moved his limbs, his body seemed to have regained control, but a deep-seated weakness permeated his mind, and the red light on his chest pulsed urgently. Before losing consciousness, Xuanhuan seemed to hear the electronic voice again. Protection protocol complete. Combat evolution mode initiated. Please select evolution path. As to what that meant, he was no longer able to consider. Xuanhuan awoke with a splitting headache. Opening his eyes, he saw nothing but an endless white light, the space echoing with the distinctive hiss of electronics. Where am I? Xuanhuan groped around for a while. Finding no boundaries, it seemed to be a vast space. Beep. System upgrading. Please wait. What's going on? Xuanhuan stared around in astonishment. After the electronic voice, the white light seemed to stir, slowly transforming into various scenes. It began with a boundless cosmic vista, then shifted to the view from above a huge blue planet, then to an ancient ruin site, and finally to a futuristic world Xuanhuan had only seen in movies. Xuanhuan felt dizzy from the shifting lights. When he recovered, he found himself suddenly standing on a boundless white platform. This is drip. System upgrade complete. Current combat evolution selection mode. Close quarters combat. Towering pillars of light erupted onto the platform, within which loomed indistinct. Xuanhuan peered closer, his breath catching in his throat. They were Ultraman. As Xuanhuan approached the pillars, his breathing grew heavy. There stood Ultraman 7. Taro Tiga. Gaia! Xuanhuan moved through the pillars, only to discover that the Ultramen were merely statues. Yet these statues seemed to retain traces of the light of hope, identical to the feeling 7 had imparted that day. Were these real? Xuanhuan excitedly approached the Tiga, gazing upwards. Dozens of meters tall, almost completely blocked his view. He finally understood the awe felt by the members of the victory team upon discovering the giant statues. And here, almost every Ultraman known to humanity was present. It was incredible. Indeed they are. With enough light particles they can be revived. A voice, eerily close to an electronic tone, suddenly echoed behind him. Who's there? Xialong's scalp prickled. When had someone gotten behind him? Yet when he turned, he found no one. Greetings, host, I am your guide, the Combat Evolution System 01. The voice seemed to emanate from nowhere, reverberating through the space. Combat Evolution System. Xialong's eyes widened. He seemed to have acquired the legendary golden finger. At the thought, his heart pounded uncontrollably. The combat evolution device is severely damaged. Currently, only System 01 and the system space are operational. The host is currently within the combat evolution device's system space. The voice was flat, devoid of emotion. Yet Xialong felt a hint of regret in it. Are you human? Xialong curiously asked. I am a system intelligent AI responsible for guiding the host. Then, can you tell me your origin, and why am I here? Xialong slowly calmed himself. Compared to other things, the priority was to understand the situation. Sorry, insufficient host permission. Xialong frowned. How can I get permissions? Insufficient host permissions. Xialong's face instantly turned black. What is your function? To guide the host and repair the combat evolution device. Letting out a soft sigh, Xialong felt a pang of disappointment. This system seemed rather underwhelming. Gazing at the giant stone statues within the pillars of light, Xialong was momentarily stunned. He loved every single Ultraman here. They had been his childhood dream. 7. Tiga. Xialong scanned them one by one. What an immense power they represented. Among them he even spotted Ultraman Zero and Nexus. Xialong knew about Nexus. Legend had it that Noah, one of the enigmatic 4 Ultraman, was Nexus' true form. No, the legendary savior of light had guarded the universe since the dawn of time. Possessing 1,000 mystical abilities, he was arguably the strongest Ultraman known. If he could become Nexus, he might eventually become No. The very thought thrilled Xialong. Aren't you supposed to guide me? Xialong's eyes fixated on the Nexus statue, his gaze intense. What constructive advice does 01 have for me now? Due to the host's currently low ability levels, activating the battle evolution device should be impossible. However, the host has, through unknown means, obtained photons of the light essence, triggering activation by chance. The host has successfully revived the first Ultraman. Please turn around. Xialong turned around, puzzled, and saw a red giant enveloped in a pillar of light appear on the other side of the platform with a sharp crackle. Leo! Xialong exclaimed. As if hearing Leo's cry, Ryo's body shuddered violently, and the aura of light burst forth, shattering even the pillar of light. Incredible, recalled the battle with the monster in Tokyo a moment ago. Was I Leo just now? Ryo secretly rejoiced. Leo seemed even stronger than he imagined. But this must be Leo at his peak after being crowned king of fighters. Truly formidable. Host, do not rejoice too soon. This is only Leo in the system state. If you were to transform, your power would likely decrease to the level of an ordinary Ultraman in its infancy. What? How could that be? Chapter 06 After the disaster. With that kind of strength, I could beat a single monster! Ryo despaired. Infancy aside, being a mere ordinary Ultraman renders his fighting ability negligible. Can't you help me improve my strength? Being without fighting power in Leo's world is too dangerous. At least I need to be able to fight like an ordinary Ultraman. The host must resolve this themselves. Xialong shook his head. It seemed this system was unreliable for now. Should I follow Leo's path and undergo special training to enhance my strength? But there's no time! Even at his Leo in the original series could still rescue Seven from magma. How weak could he have been? Besides, as a prince, Leo was a cosmic boxing expert. According to the system, transforming into an Ultraman only means enlarging myself. If I try to fight monsters like that, wouldn't I be courting death? Can I let the system fight the monsters like it did just now in the future? In fact, the host has a limited amount of photons, and the number of transformations is also limited. Protection mode actually overdraws the host's transformation count, and the system will not activate protection mode unless absolutely necessary. Limited transformations. The host's physical body isn't that of an adaptode. Even transformation is impossible without using the statue in the system space. Each transformation consumes a certain amount of photons. Once they're all used up, the host will be unable to transform. Xialong's heart felt like it was under a relentless pouring rain. The initial excitement from seeing the Ultraman statue and possessing the system was fading into despair. Then what should I? The host's stay has ended. What? Xialong hadn't even reacted when the surrounding scenery suddenly rewound, transforming from the platform back into a world of light. What the heck? Is there a time limit to this? Exiting countdown. The host will return to Earth in 5 seconds. 5, 4. Hey! I still have so many questions to ask! Wait! Xialong found his body gradually enveloped by a white light. Damn it! Wait! A blinding flash of light erupted around him, and Xialong instinctively shielded his eyes with his arm. A strange sound rang in his ears, like the sound of an Ultraman firing a beam, or a high-speed aircraft breaking the sound barrier, a sound that made Xialong deeply uncomfortable. But the sound seemed to last only a second. Vanishing along with the intense light, Xialong moved his arm, and in his bewilderment, found himself standing at the edge of the roof of a skyscraper. He recoiled in fright at the sight below. How did I get? Xialong retreated to safety. The rooftop had no railings, and the wind was strong. He looked down at the pedestrians below, no bigger than ants, his heart still pounding. At least I didn't materialize mid-air. After calming down, Xialong surveyed his surroundings. On the other side of the building lay Tokyo Bay. Ravaged by had receded, but pools remained scattered amongst the rubble and debris, each surrounded by tiny figures, seemingly engaged in rescue efforts. A heavy feeling settled over Xuanhuan. In the face of disaster, humanity seemed so frail. He recalled that the original storyline didn't depict this level of destruction. This world seemed to have undergone an unforeseen mutation, while the plot remained the same. The first monster was different. The scale of the destruction was proof enough. This world will be even more dangerous. There's no escape if I don't find a way to become stronger. I'm as good as dead. Xuanhuan gazed at the sky and through the clouds. He seemed to see the vast expanse of stars again. To say he wasn't afraid would be a lie, but it was precisely because of his fear that he wanted to become stronger, so that he wouldn't be helpless when danger struck. He just didn't know when the next monster would appear. Xuanhuan remembered that the second monster to appear in Leorio's world was the Xuanhuan, with 2 fast blades for hands, incredibly sharp. Not even Leorio was a match. If a stronger monster appeared in this world, but it shouldn't come so soon. Looking at the devastation before him, Xuanhuan didn't think it would recover in just a few days. If monsters still came even after that, humanity would have been wiped out long ago. Regardless, he didn't have much time left. Xuanhuan stared resolutely ahead, letting the biting wind whip through his hair, his collar flapping in the gale. He had to start special training. At least he needed to be able to fight when the monsters attacked. However, how was he put to... There weren't any doors on the rooftop. Leo, how do I transform? I don't have a transformation device! Damn system! Help, thankfully, due to rescue efforts. The military and defense forces pay close attention to this area. Xuanhuan was quickly discovered, otherwise no one would have heard his cries for help. How did he get up there? Listening to the rescue team members' discussion, Xuanhuan broke out in a cold sweat. If he was mistaken for an alien, it would be troublesome. He quickly found an excuse to leave. Next, Xuanhuan originally planned to ask Seven for help in improving his strength, but he didn't know how to explain it to Seven. And he really didn't want Seven to know he could transform into an Ultraman. His small frame probably couldn't withstand the devilish training Seven put Hyuga through. So in the end, he decided to ask Meng for help. Xuanhuan thought that learning karate from Meng should also make him stronger. After all, even if he's terrible, he still has Leo's body. The system's exaggeration is too much. He remembered some Ultraman had seen before. Some Transformers with roughly the same strength as him, who could still defeat monsters after transforming. Walking down the street, Xuanhuan found the situation to be surprisingly optimistic. Perhaps thanks to the timely intervention of the system in repelling the monsters, the northern areas hadn't suffered extensive damage, only experiencing tremors and some debris impact. But the areas near Tokyo Bay were a different story. The scene had witnessed from the rooftop earlier, a landscape almost completely leveled. What? They're at the hospital. Which hospital? Are they alright? Xuanhuan walked into the club and saw Meng in conversation with a middle-aged man. What's up, Meng? Xuanhuan looked questioning at the aged man beside Meng. Isn't that the man from Black Tide Island? The girl's father? Long, you're alright? Meng rushed over and embraced Xuanhuan, exclaiming excitedly, Great, you good kid. How could anything happen to me? Xuanhuan awkwardly pushed Meng away. He didn't want to be misunderstood. What about the president and the others? Bomi and Baizi are both injured. They're at the City South Hospital. I came back intending to ask the rescue team to look for you. But here you are, Safe said anxiously. Come on, let's go see them. Bomi got hurt because of you. If it weren't for the giant, she almost would have survived. What? Remembering the girl's harsh words towards him. Because I'm injured. What's that got to do with anything? At this moment, the middle-aged man stepped forward, his face stern. Since you're alright, I have a few things to say. If anything happens to my daughter, I'll hold you responsible. Ha! Xuanhuan twitched his lips. What's wrong with everyone? But thinking that the girl might be seriously injured, Xuanhuan didn't say anything more and immediately had Meng take him there. The three of them quickly arrived at the Chengnan hospital. What they saw, however, was the girl leisurely lying in bed, reading a magazine and eating fruit. Apart from the bandage on her forehead, she showed no signs of injury. Xuanhuan had a million thoughts racing through his mind. So this is what almost didn't make it means. Meng awkwardly laughed beside him. It's good that everything's alright. What? You're disappointed him, okay? Bume glared, munching on her apple. Don't worry if you're alright. How could I be hurt? Bume! Ignoring her, Xuanhuan turned to look at Baizi in the adjacent bed. Compared to the girl, Baizi's injuries were a little more serious. President, don't worry. The doctor said she'll recover after some rest. Omura patted Xuanhuan on the shoulder. But you, Long, it's incredible! I saw with my own eyes how you were swallowed by the sea! Well, I just happened to be saved by a giant no matter what. It's good that you're Omura aside. We all owe our lives to that giant this time. We really should thank him properly if we ever see him again. Oh, haha. Xuanhuan scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Of course we tear gazing at the sleeping Baizi. Xuanhuan breathed a sigh of relief, as if he had unknowingly altered the plot originally. Baizi should have been on the verge of death. However, Xuanhuan hoped this positive change would continue indefinitely, preventing the tragedy from the original story. For a moment, Xuanhuan was lost in thought, a distraction noticed by Bume beside him, who let out a series of heavy cough. Chapter 007 Reunion with Seven. After leaving the hospital, Xuanhuan seized the opportunity to persuade Meng to teach him karate. How is it? Very well. Your current physical condition is truly abysmal. If you encountered, you wouldn't even be able to save your life. However, Meng paused. The effects won't be apparent in a short time. Be prepared for that. No problem, Xuanhuan said happily, as long as it works. The club's karate dojo. Xia Long changed into his training clothes and stood opposite Meng. Meng, don't hit my face later. He thought again of the girl's kick. His nose still ached slightly. Don't worry, Long, it not be me. And this isn't sparring. Meng also recalled the last time. Laughing, she treats you differently than others. Besides, Basie, she rarely talks to outsiders. Talking, she's just got a spoiled princess temper. Just looking for trouble with me. Xia Long shook his head. Forget about her. Let's get started. Let's start with the individual movements. First your stance right, then punch, yeah. Meng demonstrated, and seeing Xia Long follow along perfectly, exclaimed in surprise. Not bad, Long. Xia Long's face flushed. Could he say it was because he was afraid of being bullied by the brat again? So he secretly practiced with the kids these past few days. After demonstrating a series of movements, and seeing Xia Long could follow, Meng happily said, I think we can start directly with sparring. Oak. Xia Long wiped the sweat from his face with a towel. He hadn't expected to be so tired after just a short while. He couldn't imagine how Xuanhuan survived the rigorous training under 7. But Xuanhuan is an alien after all. His physique is definitely stronger than his. In the show, you often see Xuanhuan jump several meters high, something normal people can't do. Maybe that's why 7 is so strict. Come to think of it, 7 probably wasn't intentionally torturing Hyuga, he was likely pushing Hyuga to his limits. After all, 7 ultimately succeeded in training Hyuga into a powerful Ultraman warrior. I wonder if this is a kind of extreme training method used in the Land of Light. Thinking this, Xuanhuan hesitated. Accepting the Land of Light's training to improve his fighting ability was undoubtedly the correct choice. Constantly practicing karate, when will he be able to defeat monsters? But he was also afraid he couldn't endure 7's special training. Moreover, if 7 knew he could transform into an Ultraman, he'd probably be tasked with fighting all the monsters from then on. Regardless of whether he could win or not, the responsibility would weigh heavily upon him. After all, he was just an ordinary person. The system said he didn't inherently possess the ability to transform, he only managed to become Leo thanks to Leo's light and the statue in the system. Not only are his transformations limited, but the side effects are still unknown. Given that unreliable system's behavior, Xuanhuan believed it had certainly withheld a lot of information due to insufficient permissions. After drinking some water, Xuanhuan was about to continue when a cane tapping against the floor suddenly sounded from outside the door. Thump, thump. The sound was crisp and powerful, like it was knocking on one's very soul. This is... Xuanhuan's eyebrows twitched. 7. Sweat trickled down Xia Long's temple. He could fathom why 7 would come to the club at this hour. Could it be? The door swung open, revealing 7's human form, Dan Muraboshi. Dan, clad in a MAC team uniform, leaned on it, his gaze calm and steady on Xia Long's locked eyes. Neither speaking you are. Meng broke the silence, his heart fluttering at the sight of this unfamiliar MAC member. MAC team usually handled cosmic monster incidents. Dan didn't reply, but cast a brief glance at Xia Long before turning and walking away. Me, bewildered, pointed at himself, questioning Xia Long. Xia Long shook his head. He knew 7 was addressing him, but couldn't decipher the meaning behind 7's summons. Xia Long followed. A profound silence hung over Tokyo Bay, perhaps the aftermath of a cataclysm. Pedestrians were scarce, those few who passed bearing faces etched with sorrow. The towering skyscrapers that once dominated the landscape were now reduced to rubble. The scene was apocalyptic, leaving Xia Long with the chilling feeling of living through the end of the world. A wave of grief washed over him as he walked. Humanity is utterly insignificant against cosmic monsters. A single attack nearly plunged Tokyo into the sea. Tuan paused, gazing at the distant sunset, and murmured, "The loss of loved ones is always a profound pain." Xia Long joined Tuan on a small rise overlooking the coast. The restless sea reflected the fading sunlight, creating a scene of heartbreaking beauty. Jun, the sea was once beautiful. Tuan gestured towards the ocean. But the monsters have turned it into a monstrous executioner, consuming countless lives. I'm just an ordinary person. Team leader, Xia Long interrupted, though he desperately needed 7's guidance. He couldn't bring himself to confess his limitation. He couldn't even defeat a Gamora, let alone shoulder the burden of saving humanity. He was, after all, just an ordinary man. Toon fell silent. She stared at Xia Long, a moment of doubt clouding her certainty. She had initially believed her suspicions to be correct, but now, she noticed the absence of the light within him, yet she couldn't completely dismiss her intuition, for she sensed a glimmer of hope emanating from him, a hope all the more critical now that 7 was gone and the monsters still lurked, hungry for Earth. A wave of uncertainty washed over him. The boy before him was so young, merely a human from Earth. Was it truly right to place the planet's fate on his shoulders? Let's give it a try. With that single instruction, Tuan left. 7, murmured Hayata, finally understanding the burden shouldered by the former Earth protector. A weight far beyond his own comprehension. This pressure, he realized, was the reason for Tuan's rigorous and excessive training of Hayata in the original story. If he hadn't been unable to transform, Tuan never would have been so harsh. If only I could become no, even just an ultra brother, I wouldn't have these qualms. It'd just charge in. A sigh escaped his lips as he gazed at the tranquil sea, a sense of urgency settling upon him. While he didn't want to rush to his death, battle's inevitable in this mutated world. Monsters would likely appear one after another, and Leo was gone, or rather, Leo had become this ordinary human being. The future looked grimmer than ever. Was this the price he had to pay for coming to this world? Xia Long walked heavily along the coast. On the beach, a group of children were playing, their laughter echoing, yet a little girl stood alone by the sea, gazing at the ocean with a wistful look. Ming Mei, what's wrong? Xia Long recognized the girl, a child from the club, and approached her asking, "Brother Xia Long." The girl, her face still wet with tears, seemed to have just cried. Will Mama come back? Yes. If Mingmei doesn't cry, Mama will come back. Though unsure of what offered comfort Mingmei won't cry. The girl vigorously wiped away her tears, forcing a weak smile. Mingmei! The children called out. Come and play! Go on then! Watching the innocent children, Xuanhuan felt an indescribable pang in his heart. The Ultraman are right to want to protect the Earth. The boy's mother was killed by a monster, so a middle-aged man walked up to Xuanhuan. Thank you. Masato-kun, who are you? Father. The man's face was drawn and wary. We're planning to move in a few days, but Akemi keeps saying she wants to wait for her mother by the sea. Xuanhuan remained silent. The loss of a loved one is always a painful Xuanhuan! Are you there?
Tell me. Oh, one.
Chapter 8 Crisis approaches. A fortnight passed in the blink of an eye. That evening, Xuanhuan was sparring with Meng. Damn it! After being knocked to the ground by Meng again, Xiaolong angrily punched the dojo floor. No good. It's been half a month long, you're already doing very well. To be able to train to this level in just half a month, why aren't you satisfied? Meng, sweat dripping from his brow, tossed a towel to Xuanhuan. Besides, it's not so easy to encounter monsters.
Leave monster hunting to the MAC team!
What if the MAC team can't defeat them? Well, Meng hesitated. Aren't their Ultraman? Besides, if even the MAC team can't handle it,
there's not much you can do either.
Do you want to join the MAC team? Xuanhuan fell silent. Meng didn't understand. Currently, the only one on Earth capable of fighting was his own makeshift Leo, and it had been half a month. No matter how Xuanhuan tried, system $1 hand. Meaning his makeshift Ultraman transformation might still be impossible. In that case, how could the MAC team possibly defeat the monster? But then again, what good is all the training if they can't transform? Softly, a loud burst of cheers erupted from the training room. What's going on? Xuanhuan asked, puzzled.
Tong completed his training! Wonderful!
Training task? Xuanhuan hurried over, noticing Tong's father among the crowd. Wait, Xuanhuan's heart scene felt so familiar. Wasn't this part of the Zulukian plot? He remembered that after completing the mission, on their way home, the Zulukians appeared and killed Shang and Tong's father. What? I can't watch him get. Palms were sweating. He didn't think he could beat the monster. With that speed, he'd probably be cut in two before he could even react. What to do? At this time, the monster is probably hiding nearby. Unless we make them stay, if we go out like this, we'll inevitably run into the monster. But on the one hand, he wasn't very close to Tong's father. On the other hand, making them stay at the club instead of going home would be incredibly rude to those who don't know the situation. Besides, he didn't have a good reason. Say there's a monster. Xuanhuan shook his head. It wouldn't work. But he didn't want Shang and Tong to lose their father like this. Xuanhuan clenched his fist.
Their fate, I will change it. There's another way.
Quickly, call the team leader for me and tell him, he said, handing Takeshi a slip of paper with Captain Akara's number on it. Hopefully it's not too late. Watching the Omeda family start their journey home, Natsuki gritted his teeth and followed them. It's the MAC team, the team from last time. Takeshi looked at the slip of paper for a moment, about to ask a question, when he noticed Natsuki had already run off. I can't believe Ryu actually knows the MAC team captain. That's amazing. But what did he tell me to say again? Something about danger. Natsuki-kun. I looked at Natsuki questioningly.
I happen to be going out, so I'll give you a ride. Uncle's lying. He doesn't have anything to do.
Akari stuck her tongue out at Natsuki. He chuckled awkwardly. Of course there is. That lick. Omeda smiled. I also wanted to talk to Masumi-kun about Kohaku and Toru.
Thanks for looking after them at the club.
Not at all. The streets, bathed in the soft glow of streetlights, were unusually quiet. Occasionally, Natsuhiko and Omeda chatted happily, everything seeming perfectly normal.
Oh, I didn't expect Masumi-kun was also tutoring them. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Natsuko responded verbally, but his mind won. No Brookstar people.
Let's stop here. Masaru-kun, any further, said Maida, halting his steps, and we'll be at my house. Ha!
Okay. It seems the plot really has changed. I've gone to all this trouble for nothing. Sharyu couldn't help but chuckle to himself. Just as he was about to turn back, suddenly, an unnerving silence fell over everything. Even the barking of dogs had vanished. Something's wrong. Sharyu's momentarily calmed heart leaped again into his throat. He heard a strange sound, like the buzzing of mosquitoes.
No way. What is it, Masaru-kun?
Xiaolong's face changed, and he lunged at Maida.
Get down, Masaki-kun!
Thrown to the ground by Xiaolong. Maida was momentarily angered and about to rise up to rebuke him, when he felt a rush of air by his ear, followed by a sharp crack. He turned his head, his eyes wide with fright. The bicycle he had just ridden was split in two. What would happen? Maida trembled, his voice barely a whisper. He had nearly been the one to fall. Xiaolong looked around gravely. The monster, its attack unsuccessful, had retreated back into the darkness. Papa, both Shang and Tong were terrified, crying as they clung to Maida.
Don't be very Papa's here.
Maida comforted his children, his gaze questioning as he looked at Xiaolong.
Masaki-kun, let's go back home.
Xiaolong gritted his teeth. With just one strike, he knew he was no match for the monster. But the monster clearly didn't intend to let them go. With a roar, it lunged at them again.
This time targeting Xiaolong! Danger!
Xiaolong's heart leaped into his throat. He instantly felt himself locked in the grip of a terrifying threat. Damn it. My legs won't move, Ala-1, Xiaolong roared, but the system was silent, the expected electronic voice failing to materialize. Damn it! Feeling the wind rushing over his head, Xiaolong seemed to see himself cleaved in two. Get out of the way in a desperate moment. A powerful force shined The sound of clashing metal followed. Team leader Xiaolong snapped back to reality, only to find Captain Hikaru struggling in a fierce battle with the monster.
Saved by 7 again!
Captain Hikaru deflected the monster's attacks with his special cane, but his injured leg hampered his movements. Several times, the monster's claws narrowly missed him, slicing nearby objects in half, creating a scene of imminent danger. Looking at the scattered wood, shattered signs, and broken railings,
Xiaolong gulped. Xiaolong shouted, "Don't come closer!"
Hikaru, entirely focused on parrying the monster's twin blades, finally seized an opening and hurled his cane. Buzz! The monster screamed in agony and fled. Watching the monster disappear into the darkness, Hikaru didn't pursue, but instead slowly exhaled a long breath. Are you both alright? Xiaolong stared blankly at the group, speechless. He hadn't expected Seven to be so powerful despite his injured right leg. Witnessing Seven's battle with the monster, Xiaolong's face darkened. Could this be the strength of a warrior from the land of light? Trained in the orthodox arts, the system was right. Leo, the one he transformed into, probably only possessed the strength of a young Ultraman. No, that level of strength wouldn't even qualify him as an Ultraman. He was merely a giant. Xiaolong clenched his fists tight. Chapter 1009 Conspiracy in the Darkness. In the woods outside Tokyo, Xiaolong gazed at the distant city, lost in thought. Although the surface appeared calm and peaceful, he knew the monster had left. It remained hidden within the city, pursuing its unknown plans. The monster was injured by Seven yesterday. Would it appear again tonight? Xiaolong frowned. If it did appear again, could he do something? The memory of his helplessness under the monster's attack from yesterday immediately surfaced, causing him to shake his head in dejection. Before him lay a haphazard pile of wooden planks, bricks and some wooden posts used for striking practice. He had intended to hone his skills, but after several attempts, he had to abandon the idea. Compared to technique, sheer strength couldn't be faked. Although he had been strengthening his muscles alongside his karate training, his hand and foot strength had significantly improved. However, splitting bricks and planks like Xuanhuan still seemed a stretch. Furthermore, despite significant progress in his karate training, he was still merely at a beginner's level. He could perform the kata and exchange a few blows with Meng, but what good was that? He couldn't last 2 rounds against Meng. As a martial art that has spread worldwide, the kata of karate is not difficult, even children can perform them convincingly, but true mastery requires extensive practical application and training. This takes considerable time, and that's precisely what Xiaolong lacked. Even if he mastered karate, he might not be able to defeat the monster, but at least he would have the means to engage it, and wouldn't be completely defenseless. Besides, he couldn't think of any other way to improve his strength. Wait, a thought struck Xiaolong, and images of Seven's battles with monsters flooded his mind. Perhaps Seven's devilish training could work, but then he recalled the agonizing look on Hayata's face in the original drama. If even Hayata, with his physique, suffered so much, to reach a level where he could defeat the monster in a short time, he himself would likely need training several times more intense. Of course he wasn't afraid of hardship, but is there really no other way? Must I seek out Seven? Xiaolong's brows furrowed. Is it possible to receive Seven's training without shouldering the responsibility? Yes, he desperately wanted to protect everyone, but to make him risk his life in battle if he succeeded, no one would remember him. If he failed, he would die that night. Police cars continuously drove past the club. Xiaolong sat in the hall, the wavering sound of sirens making him restless. Where was Seven now? When he saw a police car stopping not far from the club, Xiaolong couldn't sit still and open the door. As soon as he left the club, someone got out of the car parked nearby. Xiaolong looked closely and found it was Xuanhuan, team leader. Could it be that they came specifically for him? Xiaolong stepped forward, intending to ask about the monster, but found the team leader looking at him with a strange expression, making him feel uneasy. Captain, Xiaolong asked doubtfully. Follow me. Watching the team leader turn around so decisively, Xiaolong twitched his mouth. Why is it always this phrase? The team leader took Xiaolong to an accident scene. The scene was gruesome, although he already knew that the monster would dismember people. Seeing the bodies cut in half still almost made him vomit. Thankfully, the staff quickly removed the bodies, shaped residue long. Take a look at this. The team leader handed Xiaolong a blue, crystal-like object with a portrait engraved on it. Leo. Xiaolong's eyes narrowed. Isn't this the thing the monster used to frame Leo in the original drama? I can't believe it's appearing in this world. But what does Seven mean by showing me this? Recalling Seven's strange look earlier, Xiaolong was utterly. Could Seven have already confirmed that I was the one who transformed last time, and that he thinks this was left behind by me? That's impossible! He fought the monster right in front of me yesterday. Team leader, this is made of space metal. In other words, the string of murders was all the work of yesterday's Zorus. Team leader paused. What did you say just now? No, nothing. Xiaolong offered an awkward smile. I also think it was the monster. Leaving this behind was just a frame. Leo. The giant from Long broke out in a cold sweat, his words slipping out unintentionally. We gave him a name, Leo. It's a good name. After giving Xiaolong a deep look, the team leader didn't ask further, saying, you might be confused as to why I called you here. This normally wouldn't concern you, but as you've seen, if we don't eliminate the monsters, more people will lose their loved ones. Xiaolong, my team needs you. Team leader, I can't possibly beat a monster. You can't win, they'll teach you. And interrupted. I've asked the village. You've spent a lot of time learning karate lately, but that's not enough. Join the MAC team. It'll train you to be a qualified warrior. Captain. Puzzled. The MAC team has so many talented people, far stronger than me. Why train me? He suspected Seven still guessed that the Ultraman from last time was him, but he had only borrowed the system's power. Now that the system is gone, he can't even could he defeat the monster? Xuanhuan was silent for a moment, then replied, "Intuition. I believe you can meet my expectations." "Sorry, Captain." Xia Long's mind was in turmoil, as if two voices were battling within him. One urged him to defeat the monster to prevent more deaths, the other warned him that facing the monster without sufficient strength was suicide, not worth the risk. One voice reassured him that Seven was there. He wouldn't die, another countered that Seven might sacrifice him for the sake of Earth. Shaking his confused head, Xia Long gave a wry smile. "Team leader, let me think about it." Watching Xia Long turn and leave,
Xuanhuan frowned and called out, "Long, listen!
"You cannot protect your life without your own efforts,
but sacrificing many is unforgivable."
Back at the club, Xia Long's mind echoed with Seven's final words. Maybe Seven was right. He was so absorbed he didn't notice the club's glass door.
"A dragon!"
Tiga exclaimed, glancing sympathetically. "The nose again? That must hurt."
"Serves him right."
"We're worried sick, and he doesn't even know where he is. No sense of responsibility whatsoever. Out this late. There's definitely something fishy going on." "Alright," Hikoji said, looking at Bumi with a helpless expression. "Let's let Messiah come in first." "What's wrong with everyone?" Messiah, having recovered, noticed everyone's gloomy faces and puzzled. What happened? Had only been gone a short while, so why did everyone seem so different? "It's Hiroya. We just got a call saying his father had an accident."
"That giant bastard!"
A furious cry, accompanied by sobs, came from a corner when Messiah looked over. He saw Hiroya, the most withdrawn child in the club. "Damn it!" Kojin violently threw the object he was holding to the ground, then stomped on it several times.
"What Ultraman? Damn it!"
Xuanhuan picked up the object and discovered it the same as the piece of cosmic metal Seven had shown him, also engraved with Leo's likeness.
"Leo, chapter 3 and don't give up. Mysterious serial killing spree! New giant suspected as murderer."
5 citizens were tragically killed by a giant. Special artifacts bearing the giant's likeness were found at the crime scenes. Industry experts state that the material found at the scene is a metal unknown on Earth, confirming the killer is indeed a giant. Previous savior, current murderer. What are the giant's true intentions? The MAC team defends the giant, believing this to be a blatant conspiracy. The victim's relatives cursed the giant. Last night's murder was believed to be caused by the giant. A government spokesperson claimed it was an inter-alien conflict. Only that. Xia Long tossed the newspaper aside, taking a deep breath. This was only a portion of today's papers, but he couldn't bear to read any more. Why is this happening? He was no stranger to the media's antics, but overnight, the city was filled with this kind of news, something he couldn't understand. It had only been half a month since Leo, controlled by the system, saved humanity. This time it was just a mysterious avatar, a simple case of framing, and all the suspicion was directed at Leo. What was this? Seeing that the others in the hall remained silent, Xia Long spoke. "President, I believe in the giant. What about you?" Bumi suddenly stood up, furious. "We were all saved by the giant. Why are we saying these things about him now?" Xia Long swallowed his words back. How to look at this? These newspapers, while somewhat biased, do have a point. Timura stroked his chin, about to continue his analysis, but caught sight of Ayumi's clenched fist from the corner of his eye. "However,
there's no way I can say that. It's simply too much."
"What about you all?" Ayumi's aggressive gaze swept across the group. "What about you?" Everyone quickly nodded their heads like pecking chickens, unanimously expressing their lack of objection. "It won't do any good, unless the giant can come forward and explain themselves." Timura shook his head. "Come forward and explain." "Explain what?" Mai wondered. Since this incident stemmed from the monster, the giant must quickly find the monster, then defeat it to silence those guys. Shari stood up and left the club. "Leo, what should I do?" Gazing at the clear sky, his heart was shrouded in gloom. Various thoughts pressing down on him until he could barely breathe. What's wrong with the system? His only chance against the monster was to transform and fight. Even then, he might not win, he might get injured, but as Leo, he wouldn't be killed in one hit, he'd at least have a fighting chance. And if it came to it, he had the system's protection mode. Reducing the number of transformations would do. He couldn't worry about side effects, as long as he could handle the immediate crisis. Unfortunately, the system wasn't responding. It was like it had disappeared. If he hadn't actually saved Tokyo before, he would have almost thought the system had never existed. What? The vice, the lion's eye. He had no idea how to transform. Leo. When Xia Long entered the training hall, he saw Xuanhuan standing outside watching the children train, silent.
Tomb leader."
Xia Long approached the leader. The leader waved his hand, gesturing for him to look at the training field. Xuanhuan was in the midst of hand-to-hand combat training, repeatedly failing and falling, yet relentlessly getting back up.
"Long, look at that child's eyes."
Can you understand how he feels right now? Through Xuanhuan's continuously swinging small fists, his almost hoarse shouts, and even his eyes that threatened to, but did well up with tears, Xia Long felt a deep sadness, as if experiencing it himself. Without a word, he silently nodded. "What have you decided?" The leader's gaze remained fixed on Xia Long. "Captain." At that moment, the communicator on the leader's body suddenly beeped. "Captain."
"IOTSB X14 district. Mobilize."
"They're Xylons," the team leader responded, turning to Xuanhuan. By the time Xuanhuan and the club members arrived, they could already see MAC team engaged in battle with the monster from afar. Hirano-kun. The city was in utter chaos, buildings reduced to rubble everywhere. Xuanhuan gasped at the clean Precise cuts in the debris. Even an Ultraman would have a hard time withstanding those blows. So this is the culprit. Omura stared at the monster in astonishment. Such a sharp weapon! Meanwhile, despite Mike's valiant efforts, the attacks from across one were barely scratching the monster. It continued its rampage, destroying everything in its path. Its pilot unable to even eject. The team leader glanced at the wreckage with a grimace. Full retreat, he ordered. Captain. Retreat! Yes, sir! The entire squadron is withdrawing immediately! Damn it! Seeing that the Mac team was completely outmatched and showing signs of retreat, Hiroya, standing to the side, let out a roar and charged forward. Hiroya Omura shouted, "It's dangerous!" Seeing Hiroya rush into the monster's destructive zone, everyone felt a surge of anxiety. No, I'll go save him. Ayumi grit her teeth, about to rush out when someone grabbed her arm. I'll go. The calm voice belonged to Natsuki. You can do it. Let go. Of course I can. I told you to let me handle it before. Not waiting for a reply and ran straight towards Hiroya's system. Please, don't let me die, he silently prayed. You rotten kid. Get back here safe or you'll be sorry. In the ruins, Hiro's small figure quickly disappeared. But Shario thought he must still be running towards the monster. What a reckless kid. Shario, dodging falling debris, struggled forward amidst the violent shaking. But before he could see Hiro, he was met with the monster's mountain-like foot, its enormous shadow blotting out almost all the light. Shario almost burst into tears. Did I accidentally run ahead of Hiro? But just now, the monster was still so far away. Before he could think further, the monster landed heavily beside him. The violent tremor and shockwave sending him flying. The monster can jump! Feeling the searing pain, Shario cried out, Xuanhuan! But the expected electronic voice didn't appear. Only the monster's roar filled his ears. Xuanhuan looked down in despair at the ground, rushing closer. A fall like this meant certain death, Leo! In the wind pressure of the fall, Xuanhuan seemed to see the laughing face of Hayata. Don't give up. A flash of light suddenly appeared amidst the swirling dust. Mac headquarters. The order had just been given to double the speed of all aircraft by replacing their engines. But he knew it was useless. Tuan stared silently at the ruined transform. His eyes filled with anguish, his right hand gripping his cane tightly. If I could still transform, so many wouldn't have died. Suddenly, hurried footsteps approached. Tuan quickly put away his transformation glasses. Captain! Chapter Zerulun, the Awakening Light. It was a familiar scene. The things around him shrunk in Xiaolong's eyes. The difference was this time, he could control his body. Only he discovered this wasn't good news. His body felt incredibly heavy. Even standing was a struggle. His head felt constricted and terribly uncomfortable. His field of vision was completely different from last time. He could even hear his own heavy breathing and the thudding of his pulse. Facing the poised Zuluk, Xiaolong didn't dare relax, even slightly. He raised his hands with difficulty, assuming a karat stance. What to do? In this state, I can't fight. The monster is probably like this because it was shocked by the system last time. If I attack, my disguise will be blown. But my time isn't unlimited. Ultraman's time on Earth is short. Only a few minutes. Leo's is even shorter. Just 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Moreover, as time passes, my strength is dwindling. I'm starting to feel unsteady. What's happening? The people outside the battle zone were initially thrilled to see the giant appear. But then they noticed the giant was locked in a stalemate with the monster, and began to murmur among themselves. Is it really a giant's conspiracy? A person wearing black-rimmed glasses said, Go for it. Why does the giant seem so weak? At MAC headquarters, Tuan observed through the monitors. Something's not right. Leo's condition good. His power seems to have significantly decreased. Why? Recalling his last powerful attack, he could understand why the strength difference between the two transformations of the same Ultraman was so vast. Observing the monster's clumsy fightil, Tuan fell into deep thought. He let out a low hum and left the command room. Damn it, those two idiots! A sudden roar from the ruins shattered the silence. Looking over, Xiaolong saw Guanji emerging from somewhere, charging at the monster with nothing but a wooden stick. Damn fool kid, he has no sense of self-preservation. Doesn't he value his life? Xiaolong felt a surge of anxiety. He tried to take a step forward, but it felt like his feet were weighted down with stones. A few steps took all his strength. He lost his footing and collapsed. What's going on? It's worse than the system predicted. Xiaolong propped himself up on his hands, breathing heavily. Hirano ran to the monster's feet and beat it with all his might. His ordinary wooden stick was imbued with all his rage. Damn it, Zuluk couldn't understand why the Ultraman before him seemed so weakened. He hesitated to attack, fearing. But seeing a tiny human dare to challenge him enraged him. Instead of using his hand blades, he simply lifted his foot to stomp. By this time, Hirano seemed to have exhausted all his strength. He fell to the ground, watching the monster's foot descend. Just as he thought he was about to die, a dull thud echoed above him. The expected pain never came. He opened his eyes to a sea of red, a gigantic figure shielding him. A giant. Everyone was stunned. The giant had used its body to block the monster at the critical moment, even though he could barely stand. Why did he go up there? Ayumi wiped her eyes, unnoticed by the crowd. Bangluk was momentarily stunned, then reacted. The giant was actually weak. A sham. He was furious. He'd expended so much effort against such a pathetic opponent. It continued to stomp down on the giant below with even greater force. A tremendous thud silenced the murmuring crowd. Feeling the ground tremble slightly even within the safety zone from the impact, everyone felt a lump in their throat, unable to speak, staring dumbly as the giant, in unimaginable pain, gently crowded the child in its palm. Woo! Why? Hiroto tilted his grimy little face up, staring shuchudi at the flashing red warning lights on the giant's chest, his lips trembling. Because I am Ultraman! Keryu struggled to place Hiroto in a safe place, then shouted, "Go!" Hiroto yelled.
Bang!
Keryu no longer had the strength to support himself. He was kicked again by the monster, slamming violently into the ground. So tired. Is this the end? Although Ultraman didn't have eyelids, Keryu felt as if his eyes were about to close.
Don't give up!
A sudden burst of intense light flashed in Keryu's eyes. Xuanhuan felt himself hurtling through a bizarre space-time tunnel, surrounded by a kaleidoscope of strange lights. Where am I? Wasn't I just fighting Zuluk? Am I dead? Do Ultraman transformations lead to this kind of strange place after death? Xuanhuan's thoughts wandered. He curiously reached out to grasp the linear lights around him, his hand passing right through. What are these lights? Why do they have shape? In what felt like an instant, and yet an eternity, he finally saw the end of the tunnel, a colossal red figure. Leo. Unlike the Leo had seen in the system space, the Leo before him felt strangely familiar and close. Dragon. I entrust this world you. A voice suddenly echoed in Xuanhuan's mind. What? Xuanhuan looked around in confusion. Is that you, Leo? But there was no response. A blinding light suddenly erupted from Leo, and Xuanhuan instinctively shielded his eyes. Leo. In the shifting light and shadow, he found himself on a platform. In the center stood a colossal stone statue of Leo. There were no other massive Ultraman statues, no boundless expanse. This platform seemed to exist solely for Leo. What's going on? Congratulations, host. You have successfully activated the light energy. Current activation level 10%. A long dormant electronic voice suddenly echoed across the silent platform. However, Xuanhuan was consumed by furious anger. You damn thing, why did you appear? I almost died, you know. The system failed to initiate due to interference from an unknown force. Furthermore, it is necessary to remind the host that the system only guides according to its programming. The host must not become overly reliant on it. You. But then remembered that RO1 was just a system, and he let his hand drop with a frustrated sigh. But an unknown force, could it be Leo? Recalling the mysterious space earlier, Xuanhuan asked, what place was that I was just in? Detecting the presence of this world's will. Insufficient data, unable to answer. What's the world's will? Xuanhuan was taken aback. Warning, extreme danger outside! Host must exit immediately! It always kicks me out just when I'm about to ask something. Xuanhuan grumbled, but he also knew time was of the essence. Had been in this place for so long. Who knew how much time had passed in the outside world? Zuluk! Chapter Zoe 12 Ultraman's battle. A powerful halo enveloped Xuanhuan, erupting beneath Zuluk. A strong red arm extended from the blocking the monster's attack with unwavering force. Zuluk! A roar of fury erupted as a powerful arm flung the monster back with a deafening crash, sending dust and debris flying. Xuanhuan rose, his chest timer glowing brightly, fully recharged. More than that, he felt a surge of strength, the previous exhaustion completely gone. Without hesitation, he charged towards Zuluk, his powerful strides shaking the very ground. But Zuluk leaped. Before Xuanhuan could move, Zuluk launched a preemptive strike, his razor-sharp hand blades slicing through the air with a deafening buzz. The monster's hand blades were incredibly fast. Each stride his head, no child's play. Xuanhuan dared not block. The past 2 weeks of training finally paid off. Though his techniques were still unpolished, it didn't hinder his ability to utilize Leo's power. Boom! Dodging Zuluk's onslaught, Xuanhuan unleashed a powerful punch, striking Zuluk full force. He landed a hit, but he wasn't given a chance to rejoice. Zuluk suddenly kicked Xuanhuan in the abdomen. Ouch! The blow to his abdomen felt like it was going to pierce right through him. The searing pain forced a muffled groan from Xuanhuan, sending him sprawling to the ground. Before he could recover, Zuluk delivered another blow, a hand chop to his back. Though his defenses held, a piercing pain still shot through him. Go get him, Ultraman! A shout rang out from a distant building.
Get up, Ultraman! Go! Ayumi, Momo.
Omura, Takeshi, even Kosaka and Kotaro, all wept as they cheered on the giant before them. Everyone, looking up at the distant crowd. A wave of warmth washed over Xuanhuan. With a muffled groan, he used his arm to block Zuluk's next hand chop, then pushed himself up, quickly creating distance between himself and his opponent. Everyone, I won't give up! Gasping violently, Xuanhuan felt his strength draining rapidly. While the red light blared again at some point, he and Zuluk circled a large building, each wary of the other. This won't work! Let's go all out! Glancing at his club members, Xuanhuan gritted his teeth and charged towards Zuluk with all his might. Dragon! Listen, one cannot protect their own life without their own efforts, but sacrificing many lives for one's own is unforgivable. Seven's words echoed in his mind. Remembering Mingmei crying by the sea after losing her mother, remembering Heroi who lost even his only father to a monster, and the countless others weeping over lost homes and loved ones amidst the ruins, his resolve strengthened. Dragon, I entrust this world to you! Leo's face seemed to appear before him again. Leo, I'll fight like a man, risking my life, and never run away! From now on, I am Leo! Seeing the monster raise its gleaming blade to strike, Xuanhuan fearlessly met it, parrying with one hand and delivering a powerful punch with the other. He had reasons, Ultraman! Amidst the crowd's gasps, Xuanhuan and the monster collided again, sending dust and debris flying. Warning, host mortality rate is 80%. Time froze in a daze. Xuanhuan found himself back on the small platform where the Leo statue stood. What's happening? Host strength insufficient. Overclocking recommended. Otherwise, the system will forcibly activate protection mode. Echoed through the space. One moment he was battling a monster, the next he was in this strange space. Xuanhuan was quite disoriented, taking a moment to register his surroundings. What's overclocking? He clenched his fists. his expression suggesting that the system had brought him to this space because his life was in danger. But could he possibly not defeat Zuluk even if he tried his hardest? Overclocking is the act of temporarily increasing energy levels to 3 times or more. The host will be incapacitated afterward and severe cases can result in death. The current system can overclock the host by 3 times with a 3-day incapacitation period. Does the host agree to overclock?
Agree.
3 days of incapacitation is nothing. Xialong said suspiciously. You're not hiding anything from me, are you?
No.
Let's begin. Never mind, as long as I can defeat Zuluk enveloped in a red light. Xialong returned to reality. A loud bang echoed, followed by the dissipation of the dust. The monster's blade stopped inches from his neck while his right hand, as if guided by a divine force, pierced through Zuluk's body.
Yeah!
A triumphant shout, echoing across the sky, erupted from the ruins.
Great! Ultraman won!
Xialong stared in astonishment at his own fist. This is overclocking. So powerful. So seeing that Zorus had completely ceased to show signs of life, he nodded weakly to the survivors, then, under their complex gazes, dissipated into a white. Of course, in reality, he had reverted to his original form and landed on the roof of a building. Kneeling on the ground, he supported himself with his arms, a faint smile playing on his lips as he faced the fierce wind.
I didn't disgrace Leo!
Dragon, a familiar voice called out from behind. Captain Xialong turned around in surprise, finding it was Seven. So you, Captain? No need to say anything, I understand. Tuan helped Xialong up, saying, Don't say anything. I've already talked to Omura. He'll visit you at the club often.
Long, do you know where Ultraman's power comes from, Light? No, it's here!
Tuan pointed at Xialong's heart and said, Only by inheriting the will of light can you become stronger. After the dust settled, everyone rejoiced. But Bumai felt heavy. She searched the ruins for a long time but couldn't find Xialong. You stinky guy. She weakly leaned against the wall, sobbing softly. Bumai, several others, including Hayakoji, seemed to have realized something and fell silent. Jenks-kun.
Him here!
Xialong's laughter echoed from afar. Tuan and Xiaolong were seen on a rooftop, waving to everyone. Great, Long's all right, Meng exclaimed happily. That's the team leader beside him. Tuan's here too. Omura's eyes widened. If your leg's bad. Come on, let's get them down.
Long looks injured. You stinky brat!
More cracks appeared in the already battered walls.
How dare you laugh so happily!
Chapter 0130 A Radiant Future, Chengnan Hospital. Goodness, it would be convenient for him to stay at my place. I'm all alone, struggling even to afford food, Omura said helplessly, looking at Hirano. I already have a younger brother at home. Meng also shook his head, troubled. But leaving Hirano-kun at the club isn't an option. Really, how about this? Suzuki, standing beside Tuan, was delighted. It's just my wife and me at home. We're short a child. If Hirano comes, she'll be thrilled. But, seeing Hirano lying silently in the hospital bed, Xialong wondered if it would trouble Suzuki. Haha, I believe in Hirano-kun, Suzuki said, looking at Hirano. How about Hirano-kun? Let's go to my house. Kotaro walked in front of Hiro. That way he'll have another and Dad will be so happy. Ahaha. Everyone burst into laughter. Mr. Omeda would indeed be happy. I want another older brother too. Kosho puffed out her cheeks, looking seriously at Hirono. You'll be my older brother from now on. Okay, what's this? It's like I'm a really bad older brother, Kotaro said with a pout. You are. Watching everyone's happy faces, Xialong, sitting in his wheelchair, let a smile curve his lips, without realizing it. He had unknowingly changed the fates of so many people. He quietly left the ward and looked out through the corridor window. A ethereal bell tolled from some distant, unknown place, while cherry blossoms drifted down in the fading sunlight. How beautiful! Dragon, your joy is what we've all brought about? Tuan emerged from behind him. Captain, if the setting sun is me today, then you are the sun of tomorrow morning, Tuan pointed out the window. Go for it, Dragon!
Yes!
Xialong nodded. He was familiar with this phrase. He knew Tuan had said it to Fenjuan, but now it was directed at him, a feeling that stirred a new range of emotions. The weight of it pressed down, and he gritted his teeth. Team leader, you said you could train me into a qualified warrior. Does that still stand? I want to become stronger! Of course it does, but before that, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? Xialong looked at Tuan questioningly. 7. Xialong asked tentatively. Now it was Tuan's turn to be surprised. I found out on Black Tide Island. After all, you, Captain, saved me. Xialong was about to tell Tuan had learned it from TV. Tuan looked at Xialong like a monster, exclaiming, It seems your perception and adaptation to light are exceptionally strong.
No wonder Leo chose you.
Xialong. 7 seems to have misunderstood something. Captain, tell me how to get stronger first. Well, generally speaking, there are 2 ways for Ultraman to become stronger. Tuan frowned. One is the will of light I mentioned earlier. Your case is strange, you seem to have inherited the will of light, yet there's still untapped power. Xialong chuckled wryly to himself. This might be related to not transforming with my own body. It seems this non-adapter physique has quite an impact. Shaking his head, he continued. What's the other way? The other way is training. If the will of light enhances your strength, then sufficient training allows you to master that strength. Tuan, leaning on his cane, walked to Sha. Though I don't know Leo's origins, I can sense an invisible bond between him and Earth. Of course, I can help you with that. It's up to you. As for training, I'll give you special training once you've recovered. Special training. A glint flashed in Xialong's eyes. For some reason, he felt a surge of anticipation. After everything he'd been through, he understood this was an inevitable step. He wondered what Seven's devilish training, the one that forged Leo into the king of combat. But Dragon, you're really in poor shape. You're just an ordinary earthling after all. I can only improve your strength as much as possible.
mainly by teaching you to fight using Leo. Hey, Captain. That's Along grumbled. Is it? Aha, seeing the energetic young man before him, the weight on Tuan's heart lightened considerably. Leo's power is incredibly strong. I hope you can inherit his will of light and thus fully inherit this power. Don't let this precious piece vanish from Earth. Although the future held promise, it didn't change the fact that Xuanhuan was still bedridden. Heranos' injuries were there, and he had strange cuts on his back and arms. The hospital wanted to keep him for observation for a few days, but he immediately refused. No way. I don't want to be dissected as an alien. Finally, with Tuan, the hospital relented but warned him not to engage in strenuous activity for a month. On the way back to the club, Timur and the others chatted with Tuan, occasionally exclaiming in surprise. Xuanhuan trailed behind, supported in his wheelchair by Z called out, is this a confession? My palms are sweating, I'm not ready for this, Xuanhuan thought, his heart pounding. Heroya, Kun says he's very grateful to you. Xuanhuan's face flushed crimson, head completely misunderstood. I dimmed him think Xuanhuan is very brave. Baizi chuckled. It seems Bume was mistaken. Xuanhuan isn't a coward after all, haha. Xuanhuan let out a nervous laugh. That little brat wasn't mistaken. She was just being unreasonable. Speaking of her, where is she today? Something came up. I think she left. Oh, Xuanhuan's brow furrowed. Good thing she left. If she saw me like this, who knows what she'd say. Actually, Baizi paused, then said, Mommy Shez, a very good person. Of course she is. On the lawn in front of the sports club, Xiaoxiang and Baizi were releasing balloons together. I hope there will never be any unhappy things, Xiaoxiang shouted at the balloons at the top of her lungs. Xuanhuan listened and couldn't help but shake his head with a wry smile. Who wouldn't want to be happy forever? It's just that it's incredibly difficult to have a world without unhappiness. But it's precisely these unhappy things that make us stronger, that allow us to appreciate the preciousness of peace and happiness. Don't you think? Looking up at the distant sky filled with red clouds, he seemed to see Fengjuan. That's why we need Ultraman to protect this world. Xuanhuan picked up the tar beside his wheelchair and tested the sound, though I sat by the open window, gazing at the distant stars. Jinsha, come and make a wish! Bei's cheerful laughter drifted from afar. Okay, though I sat by the open window. That longed for hometown has vanished without a trace. Even now, it still remains in my heart. Things I will never forget. Deep within my heart, it still exists so vividly. Leo's interlude. Starry Night Barload. You're so clumsy. Let hap, Leo. It'll protect Earth, your second home for you. Chapter Oswald and Tao combat training. 3 days, not long, not short, thankfully. Nothing major happened. But on the very night Xuanhuan recovered, he received some rather speechless news from the system. What, unable to transform for half a month? This damn system is unreliable as ever. Host, rest assured. Unless something unexpected happens. Monsters in this world should only appear at intervals of over half a month. What if something unexpected does happen? Then the host is on their own. Damn it. In this mutated world, unexpected events are the norm. I have some good news for the host. Xuanhuan continued. What good news? Along said weakly, his hope in the system completely extinguished. Besides transforming him, overclocking him, and that protection mode it. Thinking about it that way, it seems quite useful. Xuanhuan twitched his mouth. But why do I always feel like it's unreliable? Because the host successfully activated the light particles and gained access to Leo's basic skill learning. The system has opened a combat training space where the host can learn Leo's basic combat techniques. But a combat training space? Xuanhuan's eyelids twitched. He suspiciously asked, isn't there some hidden cost? Are you hiding something from me again? No really, I didn't. Damn it, you've been hiding things from me all along, Xuanhuan roared. The roar happened to be passing by, to stop involuntarily. Seeing that the sound came from Xuanhuan's room, a smirk curled her lips as she pressed her ear against the door to eavesdrop. Always being so secretive. Afoot? The way he looks at Baizi all love-struck? For Baizi, I have to expose this guy's true colors! Yes, for Baizi, Bume clenched her fists. But after listening for a while, she frowned. No one's entered his room. That stinky guy is just talking to himself. The host must choose an unpopulated area to access the system. The system ignored Xuanhuan and continued. Now, it can be another time. But you mustn't be seen by any sentient beings in this world when entering the system. Then now Xuanhuan mused, if it's the Leo basic skills, the sooner I master them, the better. It'll help me adapt to Seven's training. But, if I can't? He paused, deciding to find a suitable spot outside. He remembered a garbage dump not far from the club. It was usually deserted. The Tokyo streets were unusually cool in the evening, bathed in the soft orange glow of streetlights, exuding a peaceful atmosphere. Xuanhuan took a deep breath and stepped into a narrow alleyway, the air thick with the stench of rotting garbage. Standing in a relatively clean part of the alley, Xuanhuan ignored a black cat perched on a pile of refuse nearby. The system in his mind. Zone 01, confirmed, entering combat training space. Meanwhile, Bumi, who had been following him, saw Xuanhuan enter the alley and gritted her teeth. Coming to a place like this so late, there's definitely something fishy going on. I'm going to skin him alive this time. Just as she was about to enter the alley, a blinding flash of light erupted from within, forcing her to shield her eyes. What's happening? When she finally recovered and ran to investigate, the alley was empty except for a black cat. Mew. Bume covered her mouth, staring in surprise at the cat licking its paws. After a moment's hesitation, she tentatively called out, "Hey, you." After Xuanhuan entered the system, he found it different from before. This time there were no light and shadow changes. Instead, he appeared directly in a ruined city, already transformed. This is Xiaolong examined his body. It was indeed one. Didn't you just say I couldn't transform? That only applies to the host's real-world space. The host is currently in a simulated space. Simulated space, looking at the city, almost entirely destroyed. Xiaolong curiously asked, is this the combat training space? Before he could think further, another Leo appeared opposite him. Time is limited. Let's begin immediately. That Leo extended a hand towards Xiaolong. His voice actually Xuanhuan. Xiaolong exclaimed in surprise. This is merely a projection. I can transform Imaguchi Momo, who you often dream of. If the host requires it, I can become her. No. Xiaolong's old face flushed, and he didn't bother to ask how Xuanhuan knew about his dream. Let's just start training. Well, practice Leo's hand techniques. I'll demonstrate first, then we'll go through it together to activate Leo's instincts. What instincts? All battle information is stored in the light energy. Theoretically, transformation should activate it directly. But your situation is special, so the system needs to provide specialized basic training to activate it. Leo's fist technique: concentrate all your strength into your fist, and strike the monster's abdomen with a supersonic straight punch. Leo's chop: use your hand as a blade to rapidly and repeatedly chop at the opponent's weak points. Reverse chop: when facing away from the opponent, take them by surprise with a double arm reverse chop to hit their weak points. Xiaolong. Learning Leo's basic attack methods one by one. Perhaps these techniques weren't very powerful, but they were extremely important to Xiaolong. After all, he currently knew nothing, and the smattering of karate he knew seemed useless. Moreover, with continuous practice, Xiaolong found himself becoming increasingly attuned to this body, his skills growing more proficient, as if etched into his memory. How long would it have taken me to achieve this on my own? It seems the system is even more useful than I imagined. Xiaolong felt a surge of reassurance. He believed that after integrating basic combat skills and undergoing 7 special training, he would eventually be able to unleash Leo's full power. Training complete. Host will exit the system in 5 seconds. Can I come to this space often in the future? Due to the significant disturbance caused by the host's body entering the system, to reduce the risk of system exposure, the host should avoid entering the system unnecessarily in the future. So pitiful. Turned into a cat. Now that I think about it, you weren't so bad. How about I forgive you and you change back? Upon entering the room, Long was surprised to find Bume already there. Girl. Bume's eyebrows shot up, thinking she had misheard. She looked down at the black cat in front of her, reached out to touch its forehead, and said happily, "It's wonderful." Where did this cat come from? The girl fan pausing on the black cat's head. Slowly, she turned her head, staring blankly at Xiaolong, then back at the black cat beside her. You're talking to a cat. Xiaolong. Chapter 015 The Talking Cat. Bume stared stiffly at Xiaolong. I like it, and it's none of your business. Watching Bume storm out, Xiaolong was completely bewildered. How did I offend her? She inexplicably came into my room, and... He looked dejectedly at the cat Bume had left in his room. Why did she leave the cat in my room? Mio. A pair of bright black eyes stared at Xiaolong. What an ugly cat! Ignoring the black cat's cute and clumsy appearance, grabbed it by the scruff of its neck, lifting it to his face. From now on, you're ugly cat, he declared. Meow! You foolish human, how dare you show such disrespect to me? A strange voice suddenly echoed in the room. Xiaolong broke out in a cold sweat. Looking around, however, he found nothing unusual. He muttered, hallucinating. I must be really tired today. No, I need to rest. You despicable human, release me at once! This time, Xiaolong heard clearly. The voice seemed to be calling Black Cat, dumbfounded. A cat! A talking cat! Host! This cat is no ordinary feline. Odawan's voice resounded in Xiaolong's mind. I know it's not ordinary! An alien. Xiaolong looked at it in astonishment. Insufficient data, but it doesn't seem to be from this world. Humph, you know him no ordinary cat, yet you still haven't let me go. Perhaps, in consideration of your initial offense, the black cat said coldly. But with that cat face, Xiaolong found himself wanting to laugh. So arrogant, I can't tell if it's male or female. Xiaolong wondered curiously. This sentence is difficult to translate directly due to the use of Bemao, a self-deprecating term used by cats. A direct translation would lose the nuance. You despicable human, even facing death you dare insult me. Looks like a female. A sudden roar from behind startled Xiaolong. He felt the temperature drop instantly. You would even spare a cat, I didn't. Xiaolong had just turned his head when a fist the size of a sandbag rapidly enlarged before his eyes. Ouch, my nose again. This cat's mine now, you're not allowed to bully her anymore. By my snatched the black cat, gently stroking its fur. I was just curious about this cat. What's so special about it? Xiaolong said, pinching his nose. I just heard it talk. You did? No, it really talked. Don't be ridiculous. Your salary's cut in half this month. Xiaolong was close to tears. Who did I offend today? Raw. A terrifying monstrous face suddenly appeared before Xiaolong, looking at the eyeball. Xiaolong trembled with fear. Under the setting sun, a cityscape of ruins lay in disarray, smoke billowing everywhere. Among these ruins, a colossal beast, hundreds of meters long, lay prostrate. Xiaolong was perched on its nose. Is that you? Don't play with me! Xiaolong swallowed hard. Roar! The deafening roar that answered him sent him flying, crashing to the ground hard enough to nearly shake him apart, but he barely registered the pain, for the monstrous beast before him had risen. Speechless with shock. So big! Compared to this, the monsters before were insignificant. Another long, drawn-out roar. The beast fixed its gaze on Xiaolong, seemingly displeased at the ant daring to disturb its sleep. It raised a massive claw and brought it down. Thump! No! Xiaolong shot upright, a cry escaping his lips. The gentle moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating his bed. He was in his bedroom. It was a dream! Wiping the sweat from his face, he gasped for breath, still pounding the fear lingering. Awake at last, a voice echoed from the darkness. Who? Xiaolong stared intently. Oh, you forgot me so quickly, such foolish humans! The voice's owner stepped into the light under Xiaolong's astonished gaze. It was the black cat. It's you. Xiaolong looked at the locked door. How did you get in? For my kind, nothing in this world is impossible. The black cat said proudly. A mere feat of spatial traversal is nothing. What exactly? Long remained vigilant, silently calling out to his system host. Rest assured this creature means no harm. Nullo-One's words eased Xiaolong's anxiety. Such an unknown entity filled him with dread. Let me introduce myself. I am Polydoran, a being of light. The black cat elegantly leaped onto the table, looking down at Xiaolong with a condescending air. I have come for you. Though annoyed by the cat's arrogant demeanor, Xiaolong forcibly suppressed the urge to swat it away, remembering the half-month's salary already lost because of this creature. Temporal anomalies risk causing the universe's collapse. My kind are responsible for eliminating these anomalies. The black cat continued. Xiaolong's heart skipped a beat. He frowned, asking, Me? I suppose you could say that. However, I'll give you a chance. Just do one thing for me, and I'll let you go. Why should I trust you? Xiaolong, hearing this information for the first time, wasn't sure if it was true or false, so he decided to probe a bit. He had always wanted to know how this world worked, but every time he asked the system, he got no results. Either he lacked the permissions or the information was insufficient. Seeing the black cat speak so seriously, and considering the system had confirmed it wasn't from this world, Xiaolong felt it might know something. You don't have to believe me. But aren't you curious about your current predicament? The black cat looked at Xiaolong mockingly. Foolish human, you probably don't even know you're in grave danger! What do you mean? Xiaolong's eyelids twitched. What predicament? You think you can rest easy just because you got some strange power? How naive! The black cat sneered. You disrupted his plans, and he won't let you go! Who are you talking about? I'll talk to you after you've met him! The black cat leaped onto the windowsill, and in the moonlight, it somehow looked almost sacred. You'll agree to it eventually! Xiaolong stared blankly after the black cat as it disappeared into the moonlight. I didn't say I wouldn't agree. You haven't even told me what I'm supposed to help with.
What a ridiculously stupid Catalan!
Insufficient data, unable to analyze. I didn't ask you to analyze anything. I just want to know what that nightmare was about. Is it really like that cat said? That someone's after me. That's ridiculous. He can't transform now. He has absolutely no way to defend himself. The host appears to have been affected by a type of unique brainwave. It poses no physical harm. Lying in bed, Xiaolong furrowed, unsure who the black cat was referring to. The cat itself was shrouded in mystery. Its intentions unknown. 001. You really don't know anything. Insufficient data. I knew asking you would be pointless. Deep into the night, Xiaolong silently watched the half-moon on the horizon, unable to sleep. Chapter Augustine Strange. The next day, when Xiaolong entered the dojo, he found Tuan already inside, with Meng standing beside him. Long spar with Nomura. Let me see your fundamentals. Tuan gestured for Meng to step forward, but seeing Xiaolong with dark circles under his eyes, he asked curiously, What's wrong with you? Nothing, Captain. Just disturbed by a cat. Xiaolong quickly changed into his training clothes. I'm ready! Despite some concerns about the black cat's words, Xiaolong's mood was better than ever after waking up that morning and discovering the changes in his body. As 001 said, although not an ability user, due to the system's existence, photons had always remained in his body, silently improving his physique. The changes were previously subtle, almost imperceptible, but after learning Leo's basic combat techniques last night and awakening his fighting instincts, seemingly influenced by an unknown electromagnetic wave, the effectiveness of the photons surged, coupled with a quantitative change leading to a qualitative leap. After a night's transformation, his physical capabilities had significantly improved in all aspects. Before, he might not have lasted more than 2 rounds against Meng. Now, he felt he could match Meng, even surpassing him in a certain sense. Moreover, in the aftermath of that nightmare, his photon excitation level had also reached 15%. He believed that after transforming into Leo, his overall strength should reach 2 to 3 times that of Zulk, and the power he could unleash should be as high as 80%. In other words, it was basically equivalent to Leo's strength when he defeated Zulk in the original story. Thinking of this, Xiaolong sighed. If he had possessed this kind of strength earlier, he wouldn't have needed to overclock when fighting Zulk. The cost of overclocking was too great, second only to system protection. After all, in this mutated world, his advantage of knowing the plot was extremely limited. He didn't know when an accident might happen, and losing his ability to transform was too dangerous. Dragon. Meng's arrival pulled Xiaolong's thoughts back. After the formalities, the two faced off in starting stances. Compared to Meng's starting stance, Xiaolong's was closer, appearing more powerful and advantageous in both offense and defense. Tuan was pleased. Although he hadn't seen the following battle yet, he was still somewhat happy. After all, Xiaolong had exceeded his expectations, so he wouldn't need to spend a lot of effort on basic training and could focus on targeted special training. Because as only practice, Xiaolong didn't use Leo's Cosmic Fist, but instead used Carrot. After all, it wasn't a life-death battle. Using the Cosmic Fist without being able to control its power would be disastrous. After a brief exchange of probes, the two began close-quarters combat. Xialong with orthodox straight punches, each time waiting for Meng to reveal an opening before attacking his weak points with a hand knife. For a time he exchanged blows with Meng for more than a dozen moves. Several times, Meng tried to throw Xialong, but he skillfully countered each attempt. A stranger might have thought he had trained in karate for 10 years. The onlookers, witnessing the intense fight, nodded with smiles and shouted, "Stop, that's enough! Long, when did you get so strong?" Meng stared at Xialong in astonishment. "I felt like I was about to lose if we kept fighting, secret!" Xialong grinned at Meng. The Phoenix Source's karate seemed to have integrated into his body with the activation of the light particles. He hadn't intended to go all out. The sudden increase in strength was hard to explain, but as the fight progressed, his body moved more smoothly, and his karate skills improved accordingly. Perhaps one day I could become a martial arts expert like Phoenix Source, able to fight miniaturized monsters in human form, Xialong thought excitedly, feeling a sense of security in this dangerous, mutated world. Given Xialong's increased strength, Tuan abandoned his original plan and took him to the outskirts of Tokyo. Long, your strength is already quite impressive for a normal human, but it's not enough, Tuan said sternly. While casual in private, he became exceptionally strict when monsters were involved, to protect this beautiful planet. This level of strength is absolutely insufficient.
Captain Xialong said solemnly, "I will do my best."
Tuan nodded approvingly, placing his cane on Xialong's shoulder. You must never act recklessly in a life or death battle. You must learn to think. Rushing into battle with only passion will only lead to the consequences of impulsiveness. I saw your last fight. While I don't know why your power increased in the end, I imagine it wasn't without a cost, was it? What would you have done without that power? If the monster had struck you like that first, Leo would be finished, and the Earth would be plunged back into crisis because of your mistake. Watching Tuan simulate Zol's two-stage attack with his cane, Xialong's mood gradually sank. There's really no reason to be happy. With our current strength, we can only say we're secure, but is self-preservation the goal right now? His responsibility is to protect this planet, Leo's second home. Who knows how many more challenges await him? Whilst only the second monster to appear in the Leo world, the monster's two-stage attack is powerful. To win, you need to launch a third attack while blocking the first two, the team leader continued. But, Captain, Xialong wondered, although we killed Zuluk this time, we can't guarantee that similar attack patterns won't appear in future monsters. The team leader shook his head, pointing to a small waterfall in the distance. So, Long, your special training this time is the three-stage attack. Once you've split the waterfall, you'll be close enough. Looking at the waterfall before him, Xialong couldn't help but let out a wry smile. Splitting a waterfall? How is that even possible? Well, regardless of whether it's possible or not, splitting a waterfall is completely beyond my comprehension. He couldn't figure out any connection between splitting a waterfall and this so-called three-stage attack. Captain, you need to figure it out yourself. The team leader looked deeply at Xialong, said nothing more, and turned to leave, leaning on his cane. Watching the slightly stooped figure of the team leader, Xialong fell silent for a moment before walking towards the water. Xialong, you can do it. Though small, the waterfall had considerable force. Even from a distance, Xialong could feel the spray on his face. Carefully recalling the plot from his memory, Xialong remembered that Feng Yuan had indeed mastered a three-part attack here at the waterfall. In the final battle against Zurich, he used his strengthened arm to block the twin blades, and then the remaining attack was on his legs. In other words, it's about training leg speed and power. Xialong's eyes lit up. Time passed day by day as Xialong trained until the eve of his regaining his transformation ability. Retracting his left leg, which had just split a water lily in two, Xialong almost jumped for joy. Success! Compared to the direct integration of basic combat, Xialong never imagined the special training would be so difficult. He had to remember that in the original story, Feng Yuan accomplished this quite quickly. But I finally did. Feeling the explosive power in his legs, Xialong was overjoyed. This way, after transforming, he could unleash 100% of his power. Next time he fought Zuluk, he could completely crush him. Xialong gazed at the sky, clenching his eyes burning with determination. It's time to find Chapter 17 Resurrection! Zuluk strolling through the streets of Tokyo again, watching the bustling yet peaceful urban scene. Xialong felt an immense sense of pride after all. He had defeated the monster and saved humanity. Boarding the bus, Xialong enjoyed the various street scenes with interest. Parts of the landscape felt strangely familiar to Xialong, especially the Shinkansen bullet train. He pondered, realizing that these scenes seemed to have sprung from the pages of manga he'd read. Speaking of manga, he still hadn't visited Akihabara. He wondered what the future's anime and manga mecha looked like now. And I must exist by now, right? Xialong shook his head. He knew next to nothing about the subject. He didn't even know the authors of the few manga he liked. He was only familiar with Fujio, the creator of Doraemon, Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. This thought sparked a memory of the time traveler mentioned by Black Cat. He wondered if, as a time traveler himself, he could visit the worlds of Doraemon and Dragon Ball, though maybe not Dragon Ball, young man. It's rare to find someone your age who dedicates themselves to karate like you do. An old voice echoed in Xialong's ears. He turned to see an elderly man with snow-white hair. Xialong offered an awkward smile. Wearing his training gi in public was undeniably strange. Don't misunderstand, the old man continued. I mean no offense. It's simply that I sense a guardian spirit within you. Since karate became widespread, its true meaning seems to have changed from protection to a mere form of physical exercise. In recent years, I've rarely seen young people like you. What a strange old man, he thought. Can you really tell a person's protective spirit just by looking at them? Xialong studied the old man. His eyes were sharp and bright, a peaceful aura masking a hint of something sharper beneath, or maybe it was just the light glinting off them. He couldn't tell for sure. Not everyone's destined to shoulder such responsibility, Xialong said with a shake of his head and a smile. Probably just a carrot-loving old man looking for someone to chat with. Are you a MAC team member, young man? The old man narrowed his eyes. I'm afraid only MAC team members could possess your kind of spirit. No, seeing the sports club approaching, Xialong stood up, apologized to the old man, and jumped off the car the moment the door opened. Impressive agility! Hearing Xialong's denial, a hint of disappointment flickered in the old man's eyes. He lamented. Such a talented individual. How could the MAC team miss him? This was merely a minor incident. Xialong didn't dwell on it. Regardless of the old man's identity, as long as he wasn't a monster, he was of no concern. His sole focus was on seeing Seven can withstand the dangers of this mutated world. Combat isn't about momentary bravery. As Seven said, there's no room for error. A mistake means death. And aside from his own survival, the world now depends on him. The loneliest battle indeed. Xialong let out a long breath. In the original series, Leo also had help from other Ultramen, like his brother Astra and the Ultra Brothers. Even after being dismembered, wasn't he resurrected by the Ultra King? Xialong gazed at the sky. Could this world still offer such help? He dared not gamble on it. At least for now, he had to bear these crises alone. But men should fight alone. Help is good, but without it, one must work even harder. Besides, Seven was helping him with special training, and the results were remarkable. Xialong shook his head. In a sense, he wasn't alone. It wasn't as if all his family and friends were dead. Standing at the club entrance, Long offered a slight smile. And prevent any more tragedies. Boom! Whoosh! Just as Xialong was about to enter, a tremendous roar erupted behind him, followed by the frantic blare of car alarms. What was that? Xialong turned, his eyes narrowing. A gigantic blade had cleaved a skyscraper in two, the upper half crashing onto the road, throwing pedestrians and vehicles into chaos. What? Xialong's lips trembled as he stared at the rampaging figure, disbelieving. Zuluk! Roldings crumbled like tofu. One earth destroyed by the colossal figure. The chaotic crowd was buried alive by falling debris before they could escape. Help! High-rise signs groaned terribly. The people below watching helplessly as shadows consumed them, women, children, and the elderly were trampled in the chaos, their desperate screams filling the air. Xialong's body trembled, his fists clenched, knuckles cracking, his eyes, bloodshot, were fixed on Zuluk. Why? Why has the dead monster reappeared? He watched the rampaging Zuluk helplessly. Only one day left, just one more day until his transformation. One! Zuluk has been corrupted by an unknown dark force. Its target seems to be the host. Escape immediately! The system warned. The target is me. Xialong stared blankly at the monster. True, it was wreaking havoc, but it was definitely heading towards him. If this continues, Xialong turned to look at the crowd pouring out of the club, alerted by the commotion. Everyone will be implicated, damn it. Run! Long, come here! Hearing the calls, Xialong ignored them. If the monster's target was him, following the club goers would only endanger them. You go first! Xialong gritted his teeth. He'll catch up immediately. Just lure the monster to the suburbs. Warning, suburbs, danger level 100%. I don't care anymore. Sprinting towards the suburbs, as Xialong moved, Zuluk, as if receiving an order, ceased its destructive actions and relentlessly followed in Xialong's wake. What happened? The grey-haired old man, covered in dust and grime, clambered out of the bus, only to see the monster's retreating form. The monster seemed to be chasing something. Warning, host has been locked onto by target. Extreme danger! The system's alarm blared repeatedly in his ears, but Xialong ignored it. He could feel the looming crisis even with his limited awareness. With no knowledge of when monster might attack, all he could do was run. Xuanhuan. Stop the chatter and tell me the solution! Xialong urged, his voice laced with anxiety. Target detected. Detection complete. Host needs to maintain a distance of 1,000 meters from the target and avoid detection for 5 minutes. The system will then temporarily transport the host to an internal space. Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to do that? Can't you just teleport me directly? Xialong exclaimed Angruan. For once, pull your weight. Unknown energy exists around the target. Forced teleportation risks exposure and unpredictable consequences. I'm already in this state. What do I care about exposure? Feeling the ground tremble more intensely, Xialong increased his speed. Could there be any other way? Yes. Chapter Ozanyan Ilio the locked. In crisis. What way? Xialong faltered. What other way could there be? The host can wait until tomorrow to regain the ability to transform. Damn it. You might as well not have said anything. Xialong angrily dodged falling debris, his surroundings already shrouded in the monster's shadow. A thunderous roar came from behind. Forget tomorrow. He might not even make it to the next second. In fact, this method has a much higher success rate than the previous one, and it's already passively underway. Xuanhuan continued. What do you say? Xialong asked in confusion. Then he noticed the sudden stillness around him. The tremors that had been pounding in his ears vanished without a trace. Host has escaped the crisis. What's wrong? Xialong stopped, turning to look back. He saw Zuluk inexplicably stopped in place, spinning around dazedly. What was this? Seven's Ultra Mind Power saved by Seven again. And this time it came at a steep price. Ultra Mind Power drains lifespan. Xialong felt a mixture of relief and inexplicable unease, a complex cocktail of emotions. He gave Zuruk a complicated look, and waited until Zuruk's form dissipated under the influence of the Ultra Mind Power before heading towards the club. Tuan should be waiting for him there. Chengnan Sports Club. Why didn't you transform? Tuan's stern gaze met Shalong's as he arrived. Captain, Shalong stammered, unable to speak. Looking at Tuan's pale face, the leader sighed, shuffling away and staring out the window at the wreckage left by the monster. After a long moment, he spoke. Because of you, at least 3,000 people died. Have you considered the pain of losing loved ones, Captain? Xiaolong, wanting to explain that he couldn't transform, but the words caught in his throat. The area outside the club, ravaged by the monster, was now under police control. Groups of bereaved relatives were being escorted to the scene to identify bodies. Zuluk has become stronger. With you wouldn't stand a chance against him. The sounds of weeping drifted in from outside. After a moment of silence, the leader turned and said, "Come, attack me." "But Captain,
Don't worry about me.
do you know what time it is? The monster will come again.
And everyone's lives are in your hands.
Xiaolong gritted his teeth, nodded, and charged at the leader.
Captain, I've learned the 3-stage attack.
Thump. He wanted to show the leader the result of his hard training, but unexpectedly he was knocked down in 2 moves. What's happening? Xiaolong painfully raised his head, facing the leader, whose body was already weak from using his psychic powers.
He realized he didn't even have a chance to fight back. Too slow.
Agaunton retracted his cane. Xiaolong, unwilling to give up, threw another punch, but his fist landed squarely on Tuan's cane, which was meant to deflect the attack. Sending a jolt of pain through his abdomen, he instantly doubled over.
That was the monster's 2-part attack.
Tuan pulled Xiaolong up, staring intently into his eyes. To defeat the monster, you must unleash a ferocious counterattack. After blocking the second part, you have to do it. But, Xiaolong groaned in pain. I've mastered the 3rd attack, yet I still can't break through Tuan's 2-part attack. Was all this training for the past half-month useless? I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not destined to be the hero. Tears welled up in Xiaolong's eyes. Seemingly sensing Xiaolong's despair, Tuan roared. What's with that pathetic look? What's with that expression? Captain, you just need more time. Tuan sighed, seemingly realizing his expectations were too high. Just knowing the moves isn't enough. You have to be able to use them in battle. Dragon, you have at least one more day, no matter what. Think about those who died. Remember what you promised me.
Don't let this precious piece vanish from Earth.
Xiaolong hung his head. Go for it. That day, Xiaolong slept late. The sounds of punches and kicks echoed continuously in the empty club hall. With Leo's foundational fighting skills, why is special training still so difficult? Could the increase in strength I feel be just an illusion? Xiaolong asked 01. The host simply lacks practical combat experience. Only a large amount of actual combat can allow the host to fully digest and integrate fighting techniques. Furthermore, even if the host fully utilizes their current strength, they cannot defeat Captain Hikari. Why? Xiaolong's eyebrow. He had been severely beaten by Hikari during the day, and now even the system was discouraging him. Because Ultra 7 is a first-rate Ultra Warrior, although his human form has mobility issues, he can still perform at 80% of his normal capacity. Xiaolong froze. Yes, even with increased strength, defeating Ultra 7 was still impossible. So you're saying the current situation isn't as dangerous as the team leader described? No. After the target monster went, its power increased fourfold, surpassing the host's overall strength fourfold. Xiaolong gasped. Even at his peak, he could only manage about 3 times the original Zorus power. Had thought he could easily defeat it. But the main monster suddenly boosted its strength by so much. Back to square one. Xiaolong's heart sank, but he didn't dwell on it, continuing to hone his skills. When outmatched in strength, one can only rely on skill. The 3-stage attack wasn't as easy as it looked in the original show, at least. For someone like Xiaolong, lacking practice, it was incredibly difficult. The 3-stage attack takes many forms, a combination technique that relies on application. Mastering only the leg attacks is just the foundation, but he didn't intend to master it in such a short time. It would be enough to perform it like Hayata did in the original series. Zorus is powerful, but even with a 4-fold increase, its attack method won't change. That's its biggest weakness and Xiaolong's only chance. The next day, Xiaolong awoke with a violent jolt. Shaking his slightly dazed head, he found himself asleep in the lobby. This is the Tremotin. Has it begun already? Less than a day. There was no time for complaints, however. The monster Zuluk seemed to have targeted him from the start, attacking the club the moment it appeared. That damn thing. Xiaolong swallowed hard. Center. How's it going? Can I transform yet? Countdown in progress. 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes. Xiaolong let out a wry chuckle. A short amount of time normally, but now it felt like an eternity.
Long, the monster's back. Run.
Dragging Damura, he saw Xiaolong in the lobby and shouted, "It's heading this way!" "Hey, slow down," Damura said helplessly. "I haven't even put my pants on yet." Xiaolong's face darkened. This guy, what time is it? Where are Baizi and the others? After the incident outside yesterday, I sent them to take care of the injured children. They didn't come today. Kun ran while pulling up his pants, muttering, the monster always heads this way. Why is our luck so bad lately?" Xiaolong and Kun ran out of the club and found that the Mac team had already arrived on the scene, attacking the monster. "No, they can beat it, 01. How much time is left?" Xiaolong said gravely. 1 minute countdown. Chapters and lows. Several aircraft in the air were firing at Zorok, but they only managed to slow the monster's advance. Surrounding buildings were destroyed. The makeshift medical facilities built just yesterday were smashed to pieces by flying concrete. 565001 continued the countdown, but Xiaolong couldn't wait any longer. Seeing numerous separating from Kun, he walked towards Zurok.
"Host 01,
I've got this," Xiaolong declared firmly.
Explosions rocked the area, collapsing skyscrapers sent up a maelstrom of dust and smoke. Zuluk emerged from the flame, shrouded in a dark aura, more menacing than before. His oversized eyes blazed with aggression. Warning, host locked on! Transformation time remaining 30. Xialong looked up at Zuluk, clenching his fists. Zuluk, having locked onto it, staring across the smoke and fire.
Time to settle the score,
Xialong continued forward.
There are people down there! Cease fire! Hey, what are you doing? Get back here!
A familiar voice called out from behind Xialong. He turned to see the old man from yesterday. He seemed to recognize Hung as well, hurrying towards them. Several MAC team members shouted behind him. Director! Danger! Director! Xialong stopped. The original story offered little information on this, and he wasn't quite sure what a director was, but judging by the MAC team's reaction, it must be someone of high authority. Xialong frowned. Could he still transform in a situation like this? 15 seconds remaining. Meanwhile, Zuluk raged again. He cleaved through obstacles and charged towards Xialong. The heavy thud of his footsteps pounded like a hammer against Xialong's heart.
Warning, extreme danger!
Seeing the old man running towards him, Xialong didn't want to endanger him, nor did he want to reveal his secret. He had no choice but to meet the old man head-on.
Young man, this way!
Upon seeing Xialong, the old man urgently pulled him towards a different direction. The MAC team was already approaching in the distance. As Xialong looked at the old man who was disregarding his own safety for him, he was deeply moved. Please go, sir.
It'll be fine.
Imold, my life or death doesn't matter, but you absolutely cannot die here. A young man like you should have more important things to do. The old man held onto Xialong tightly, his voice sharp. No matter what, do not abandon the guardian will. Zuluk's rage intensified as Xialong fled. His twin blades sliced through the air with terrifying speed, instantly leveling the buildings in their path. Xialong stood directly before Zuluk, with nothing between them. A bead of sweat trickled down Xialong's temple. Zuluk, despite his sight, was incredibly fast and possessed an astonishing leap. He saw Zuluk spring into the air, heading straight for him. Danger! Seeing Zuluk descending upon him, Xialong gritted his teeth and delivered a sharp chop to the old man's neck, knocking him unconscious. Rest assured, I would tempt Guardian's will. Xialong looked up at the falling behemoth,
urgently shouting one. Time remaining 3. The monster is only 300 meters away.
2150! Xialong's heart pounded in his chest.
Leo!
Zuluk crashed down, shaking like an 8-0 earthquake. A powerful shockwave radiated outwards, shattering buildings within 100 meters. Dust enveloped the entire area.
Director!
Several MAC team members stared at the monster, their eyes bloodshot. Captain Director, prioritize evacuating civilians and minimizing casualties. Dan, piloting MAC Heffen, kept his eyes fixed on the dust-shrouded area.
Dragon! President! Did you see Dragon? He suddenly disappeared!
Mengo anxiously grabbed Mr. Omura's arm. He probably went ahead. Omura, disheveled and missing a shoe, was jostled by the fleeing crowds.
Don't worry, that kid dragon's got 9 lives, he'll be fine.
Omura glanced back, then froze in shock. Hey, isn't that the giant from last time? As the dust settled, a towering figure emerged from behind the monster. After setting something down, it scooped up the beast and soared into the sky. A dragon! The squadron leader exhaled sharply.
The giant saved the director.
Go to the rescue immediately. Xialong had intended to relocate the battle to the suburbs while the monster was distracted, but his first flight proved far more challenging than anticipated, especially while carrying a ferocious beast stronger than himself. To avoid Zhu, Xianding in an open field where he found himself facing Zuluk, who had landed as well. Should I enable overclocking? Alozalwan's voice sounded. No. Xialong slowly approached Zuluk. The cost of overclocking is too high. I can't use it so readily anymore. Besides, I want to defeat this monster with my own strength. Eyes wary of the monster's hand blade, Xialong channeled all of Leo's power, reinforcing his arms. Zhaozal won. Then it's worth a shot. Red energy surged into his wrist, the immense power coursing through him. Xialong met Zuluk's attack head-on. Zuluk bang! After successfully blocking the first strike, Xialong found Zuluk's other hand knife coming at him even faster before he could even begin to guard, so quickly retreated. So fast! Seemingly deeming Xialong no threat, Zuluk abandoned defense, hacking at him directly with 2 simple attacks. But coupled with the monster's massive size and incredible speed, Xialong was thrown into disarray, unable to even manage a 3-part attack. Damn it! After another clash with the monster, Xialong gasped, retreating to the side. He hadn't fought using Leo's body enough. There was a subtle difference between his actual performance and his expectations. This subtle difference was magnified infinitely in this battle against Zuluk. Zuluk's eyes flashed with cold light, his body suddenly rushing before Xialong, bringing down his twin blades in a devastating strike. A gasp of shock, Xialong blocked with all his might, but felt a tremendous force jar his wrists. A sense of foreboding washed over him. He rolled on the ground, dissipating the impact while dodging the monster's slashing hand blade. As he rose, the red light flashed, and Xialong felt his strength draining away at an accelerated rate. 1 minute remaining. Echoed again, this time indicating the time left for his transformation to last. Watching the monster's swinging blade, bitterness filled Xialong's heart. Last night, he'd realized he hadn't mastered the 3-stage attack like Fengyuan. While Feng Yuan's 3rd stage indeed focused on footwork, it was predicated on successfully defending against the monster's first 2 attacks. He remembered Feng Yuan's training in the original series, practicing both footwork and hand blade techniques he'd neglected to practice. Dodging Zuluk's relentless attacks, Xialong grew increasingly anxious. The monster's speed was accelerating.
temp, continuously retreating. Xialong collided with a skyscraper, giving Zuluk the opportunity to land a brutal blow on his body. Boom! Xialong's entire body was embedded in the building, his body thrown backward by the sheer force of the monster's attack. The red light pulsed even more urgently.
Ultraman!
Cheers erupted from the children below, urging him on. Hearing their encouragement, however, Xialong felt a sense of powerlessness. This was the Leo world. There were no children to empower him, no teammates to lend their strength.
But I can't fail!
He seemed to see Dan in Magi 3 preparing to overtax his life force again.
Using Ultra Ni. No, Captain!
Xialong telepathically pleaded.
I haven't lost yet! I can't lose!
Chapter Yodu 20 Darkness emerges. Xialong recalled Seven's earnest teachings, the grief-stricken feelings of Hirono, and countless innocent people who had perished at the hands of monsters. The grueling training of the past half-month flashed before his eyes, the stunning moment of splitting the swiftly moving petals in the water vividly in mind. Zuluk, with all his might, Xialong parried the blade, his body and spirit unified, finally taking another step towards merging with Leo. Fueled, he launched a powerful kick at the monster. Bang! With a Dulux staggered backward, his feet churning up long trails of dust, emitting mournful cries. This is... Xialong retracted his leg in surprise, then a wave of exhilaration washed over him. So a two-part attack didn't necessarily require a three-part sequence. As long as the second strike was fast enough, it could break Zuluk's combo! Glancing at the frantically flashing red light on his chest, Xialong steadied his breath and initiated another attack on the beast. Parried again, then a swift kick. Boom! Zuluk's monstrous roar echoed in his ears as the colossal beast was sent flying dozens of meters away. Had done it! Feeling the surge of immense power from Leo once more, Xialong's heart pounded with excitement. Only by relying on his own strength could he truly become stronger, and he had done it. Host remaining time 15 seconds. Hearing the system's prompt, coldly gazing at the nearly incapacitated Zuluk. It all ends now! Xialong landed a brutal punch to the monster's abdomen. This punch for all the humans you murdered? Ignoring the reeling Zuluk, Xialong followed up with a devastating hook, sending it sprawling. Hundreds of thousands of tons of force caused Zuluk to wail in agony on the ground. Xialong reinforced his hands, using them as blades to swiftly cleave Zuluk's arm. Steel shards separated from the monster's body, spinning in mid-air before plunging directly into its chest. In the fading light of the setting sun, Zuluk exploded, reduced to ashes. Beep! A sudden silence fell over the ruins, broken only by the insect. Urgent pulsing of the red light on Xialong's chest. Host remaining time 3. Xialong withdrew his gaze from the smoking wreckage, nodded to the crowd on the periphery, crossed his arms over his chest, and vanished before them in a flash of light. The MAC team's rescue operation continued. They were responsible for the numerous victims, those injured, bereaved, or whose homes were destroyed, and the team members were incredibly busy. Xialong stood at the street corner silently observing the scene. Though the outcome wasn't perfect, we managed to protect what we could, didn't we? Watching several women on the street helping to care for the orphans who had lost their parents in the incident. Tirelessly comforting the children. A slight smile touched Xialong's lips. Ordinary people have their own ordinary responsibilities. After pausing for a moment, Xialong turned and walked away, warning. Extreme danger! A system alert suddenly sounded, causing Xialong to stop in his tracks. What's happening? We just defeated the monster, it can't be another one. Can it? Xialong felt a sudden pang of anxiety, followed by a sensation of being separated from the surrounding crowd, as if shifted into a different dimension. The sounds around him receded like a tide, as if his hearing had been abruptly stolen. Ultraman Leo, a faint voice echoed from nowhere. Xialong looked around, only to see a figure completely shrouded in black suddenly appear amidst the nearby crowd. Leo Ultraman, despite his presence, those passing by seemed oblivious. Who are you? Xialong felt a mysterious force seizing him, rendering him immobile. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. How could someone like this exist in this world? Xialong called out urgently, but the system seemed to have vanished again, offering no response. Helpless, Xialong could only watch as the black-clad figure slowly approached, each step bringing an overwhelming pressure. Could this be the end? Xialong stared intently at the mysterious figure, his heart filled with resentment.
Don't you touch him!
Just as Xialong was about to succumb to despair, a dark shadow appeared before him. Black Cat, you should know the rules of space-time. Polydone, the mysterious figure across from him, seemed to remember something and fell silent. I can't believe you're still at it after all this time, the Black Cat hissed coldly.
Dark Zaki,
still at it. His still as annoying as ever. Xialong seemed to see icy eyes peering from the gap in the cloak. He heard the wavering voice continue. Noah. What? Xialong watched in confusion as the figure in black gradually faded away. Noah. The surrounding space returned to normal. Passers-by stared curiously at the man and cat sprawled in the middle of the road. Human.
Follow me.
The Black Cat's tone remained haughty, but Xialong dared not object. Just a few words had sent such a powerful person away, and regardless of the reason, the cat had saved him, making it hard for him to argue. I wonder if it holds a grudge for how I treated it earlier. Watching the Black Cat's back, Xialong recalled recently lifting it by the scruff of its neck. Had thought it was funny at the time, but now he felt a twinge of unease. I heard that mother cats are very vengeful. Ignoring Xialong's rambling thoughts, the Black, with seemingly slow yet swift steps, led him to the rooftop of a tall building. Human, I presume you understand your predicament now. The Black Cat elegantly leaped onto the railing, turned around, and looked at Xialong expressionlessly. What predicament? Xialong frowned. Was Black Cat referring to that man in black? Dark Zagi, the evil dark destroyer god, was the man you just saw. The black cat flicked its tail, jumped onto Xuanhuan's shoulder. You disrupted his plans, and he won't let you go. Under Zhaji's control, do you think the strange power within you can save you? Are you kidding me? The man in black is Zhaji. Xuanhuan's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the black cat on his shoulder. What in the world is going on? My race has existed in the universe since ancient times, possessing the ability to traverse space-time. We are known as the Noah clan, and Noah Ultraman is the god of light who protects us. Xuanhuan felt ripples spreading around the black cat. He found himself transported from the rooftop to a cosmic space. Having experienced the system, he immediately understood this was merely an illusion. A brief moment of alarm quickly subsided. However, Noah's dark counterpart appeared in the cosmos, lacking a physical form. It lurked within a giant artificial body modeled after Ultraman Noah. Our civilization was destroyed by Zhaji, before Xuanhuan's eyes, as the black cat. A colossal be littered with the remnants of enormous structures, their vast, buried forms half submerged in rubble and earth. Ultraman statues! Xuanhuan stared intently at the figures within the ruins. They were indeed thousands upon thousands of Ultraman statues,